though.
I told you it was. I wasn't gonna lie to you about it.
What the hell is that? What? Oh, that was my face. Nice and big. Nice and big. I love it.
All right.
I forgot that's how he has it set up.
Cool beans.
Cool beans. All right. What was that? That was a
Hello, everyone, and welcome
Brooklyn.
back to For the Minions, the weekly show where we. Tonight's guest is the bearded Wolverine.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, right? All right. All right. Welcome, everybody.
Some loot boxes.
Some loot boxes.
Let's gang
Well,
almost bearded.
Let's do it. I mean, we could definitely. This would be the night to do that conversation, but it's a little like what, a month and a half
Joining
late.
me as always.
Loot boxes are so passe.
So,
Oh boy.
but welcome everybody. We have a great show for tonight. As you can see, we have For the Minions crew here with us tonight. So I'm excited. Let's introduce anybody who doesn't know you. That's a shame. So let's introduce yourselves just in case they don't know you, and then we'll get them to know you forever and ever and ever. So let's go with Jelly, and then Mangoose, then Beard Viking, the other Beard, and then I'll call myself afterwards.
Beard Viking, the other
Yeah,
beard.
Beard.
Just introduced us all. I'm Jelly.
Well,
Mangoose.
yeah,
and
but-
Viking. Ta-da! We did it.
Done. Fucking bearded knocking it out of the park. Look at it, Windu's job.
Windu's not here, so this is gonna be a fast show tonight. Okay, let's go.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, but you see, we got Viking here tonight, so it's obviously we've just multiplied it by 3 that we're going to be here that time.
Yeah.
All the YouTube comments will tell you.
All right. So, anyways, anybody want to do introductions or no?
No, let's get going.
All right, let's get going.
Man.
All right. So the one thing we can talk about for sure is the announcement of the mastery race for Iggy. What are your guys' thoughts on that with the time that was going on? And then I'll pull it up while we. Or Mangus, do you want to pull that up and go over that announcement for me?
Yeah, I mean that was interesting that they're doing the mastery race now. I didn't think they would be able to do so, but apparently they can still at least track how much mastery you would get.
Right.
This is going to be a weird one. This is going to be interesting to watch. And it's taking me a little bit to pull it up here.
Yeah, all good. I threw that one, threw you a curveball there for a second. Viking, what are your thoughts on doing a master race this late into the game?
I mean, so I think it's something that the community as a whole looks forward to. So it's a good thing. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything as far as I'm concerned. So it's still a better late than never, I think. And you know, it's still a good patch. He's a really fun champion, and I think getting more people back into the game, even just to chase, you know, this mastery it's fun. I think I'm excited for it. I mean, I'll see if I even throw my hat in the ring, you know, and see if I can get there. It's a contested pick a lot of times though. So
it is.
And I would imagine with the mastery race going on that it'll be even more contested, but no, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I think it's a good thing overall.
Okay. Jelly, your thoughts?
I agree. I think overall it's a good thing. It's sad to see that it was a little late, but they kind of addressed that and said like, yeah, we dropped the ball, right? But we still want to do the mastery race, even despite that they're going to do it. That just first one to get 16,000 XP is going to get the gold avatar like they did for Crunch. The thing that they're adding that I really like is the runner-up reward.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool way to still keep people engaged, because if you're basically anywhere past probably 5th on that list of people, the likelihood is probably very small that you're going to get the gold one. So you kind of feel like, well, okay, I'm done. Thanks though. Right. Whereas this, at least now you still have something to work for that's still prestigious in its own way, which I think is super cool.
Oh, definitely. That's something I really like, because I'm somebody who I'm not able to no life this situation, and be able to do something like that. So that would, if I were to put myself into it, I could at least get something out of it still if I were still trying. So I like the fact that you're able to do that. So I agree with that.
They've got a variety of different quests here. You've got your mastery quest, earn 16,000 mastery XP on Iggy and Scorch. So it's not the first to gold, it's the first to earn 16,000 mastery points for him. Rewards gold Scorch avatar for first, silver Scorch avatar for reaching the goal within the event duration. Community quest deal a total of 1 million is that 100 million damage with Iggy and Scorch community wide. Rewards 3 times prime cores and keys to every player that contributed to the total. In event quest 1, play a total of 10 PvP games, reward 3 times prime orbs. And event quest 2, win a total of 3 PvP games, reward 3 times common orbs. So I like that they are also encouraging people to actually PvP instead of trying to earn this strictly via versus AI.
Agreed.
Which is how the last one was won, right?
Yes.
The first one.
There were a majority AI games, yeah.
Which makes sense because, like you guys said, it's a contested pick. So unless you're 5 stacking, it's going to be very hard to get Iggy and Scorch every single match that you play. And that's kind of going to be required to get these mastery races. But again, I don't think the rewards are so over the top awesome that it's like a real thorn in my side. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to participate in one of these mastery races, but like it, and it's not something like you're getting an exclusive Iggy skin or something like that. Would be, I would feel bad if they were giving like an exclusive Iggy skin away and like nobody had that much of a chance to get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
100%. I'm curious how it's going to look in game. The gold profile picture, whatever your icon,
Avatar,
doesn't look as good as the silver one does, in my opinion.
I think that's better.
No, to me, it looked like the gold one was kind of washed out. Like it was difficult to see the detail because it's got kind of like a gold background as well. Like the background of it is a similar color as to Iggy's wide open mouth or Scorch's wide open mouth. I don't know. I thought the silver one was a little bit easier to tell what it was, but maybe it was just me looking at the picture. But
I actually think the reverse of what you're saying. I feel like the gold one is a little more detailed. Like you can actually tell the definition between Iggy's teeth or Scorch's teeth and then his jaw and then you can see he's got the gold scales and the background is obviously a little more, it's not as blended in the silver one. To me it looks like it literally looks like they basically just made everything, they took the that gold picture and made it black and white. That's what it looked like
to me. Same here.
I'm gonna pull it up again and see,
because I don't think that's Iggy's silver skin.
It's not. I don't think that's his silver skin either.
I think they updated the picture.
The gold one is the gold mastery, but the gold mastery skin, but the silver one I don't think is. I think you're right. It's just a black and white version of the gold.
It might be. I think they changed the picture because it looks a lot more vibrant than the first time I saw it. Maybe it didn't upload well the first time they did it, and so that's why I had that opinion. But
stay off your Apple phone and just do it on your PC next time.
Yeah, fair enough.
The one thing I want to pull out that's interesting about this is the time frame, right? Not the fact that it's starting late, but the fact that it's starting on Monday the 19th. That's not even next Monday. Like that's even farther away. So it's almost like they're setting up. So that tells me that we are guaranteed getting a patch from here till the 19th. That tells me that they're setting up for a patch before this happens to release for this.
You think so?
I do think so. I mean, why would you? If we're just going to do if it's just a mastery race, why wouldn't you just do it start next Monday?
Probably because they need to set up that whole concept that they're adding in the separation from the people who have already started to build mastery towards gold, and they need to have something internally.
That's probably just an API counter. You just set the API at
I
a
wouldn't
certain
think.
point. And
I'm not saying that it's hard, but we know how they are. SMS takes forever to do literally anything. So
Hey, this isn't for the minions, right? This is actually fault partner panel. You can't just bash on them like that constantly. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Now, if you want bashing, no. I don't know. I mean, it could be that they're going to put out a patch. Would be really funny is if they do put out a patch and they nerf the crap out of Iggy.
I mean, he's probably gonna get nerfs. He deserves them.
He does in some aspects, right? Like I think we in our game, Jelly, we showcase that he's not as strong as initially thought. Like there are ways to exploit his weaknesses for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true of anybody, right? That's true of any character, any hero, but that doesn't mean he's not a little overtuned right now. I think he is a bit overtuned.
Yeah, I think he's a bit overtuned. Some things need to change. I just don't think it should be, crazy changes for what he needs to go on.
Where do you think he's overtuned at?
His turrets are way too strong to be taken out.
No, his E is the most strong thing about him, no question.
His turrets don't even put out that much DPS. They're just
I'm not talking about DPS, but I'm talking about the tankiness of it. And the tankiness of it that allows him to take a lot of objectives that shouldn't be so easy to take. Talking about enemy towers, talking about raptors, prime, all that stuff. His tankiness of those turrets change a lot of things.
I know we talked about it on FTM, but I do think that his turrets probably need to be put on a pip system instead of the health-based system they're on now. Mm-hmm. And the fact that their health scales is nuts, right? Like with
your AP or whatever.
So the balancing of a pip system, I just asked Mangoose about that. I think the last time we did the partner panel, he said something about a pip system as well. The balancing of that, what would you just add more pips if you need it to be stronger, or do you take pips away if you need it to be not as strong? Yeah, like how does that work?
Threshold. So at level 1 and 2, you have 3 pips. Level 3 and 4, you have 5 pips, and level 5 of the ability, you have 6 or 7 pips or something, right?
Okay.
That it still scales, but at least something like 80 carries can still burst them down quickly. Instead of right now, nobody can really kill them fast and effectively. Like it's just insane.
Yeah. And that's where I'm saying that's where the overtune comes. I do think his E is a little strong, but I don't think it, to me, the turrets, me trying to clear a turret as an ADC is more bothersome than, avoiding the flames on his E. Like I can avoid that decently well.
I see, for me, I think his turrets are less annoying in lane than they are at taking objectives, right? So, I mean, I would even argue you could just increase the percentage that they take damage from neutral objectives. Like, because they don't.
It already takes 50% more.
I know, but I mean, make it 60, 70. I don't know. They can play with the percentages to get it to feel like it's a little bit better. I think his E, like Jelly said, is to me the strongest thing to deal with in lane. He has basically free. I mean, it's so cheap, mana cost wise, to wave clear with just his E. You throw in an E right click and there's nobody that can stay in lane with him long enough, like in any of the lanes, in my opinion. If you max his E, you're doing so much damage, and then when it comes time for team fights, your damage is not coming from your turrets. Your turrets are giving you like movement speed and a little bit of damage, but your main damage source, E, right click, and ultimate, and that's it. Like if you put that full combo down, it doesn't matter how many turrets you actually have placed up PvP wise. Now in a neutral setting, absolutely it's stupid that he can take OverPrime by himself, or almost any objective by himself. I think that's not his to me, when I think of like an overbalanced champion, it's like how much are they influencing the map in a PvP sense versus just a PvE, because I think the PvE aspect's way easier to balance, especially considering it's mostly just his turrets that are the most hard to deal with in a PvE stance, and you just increase the damage that they take.
I think the hidden power of his Molotov 2 is baked into the updates with the execute mechanical minions, because it's a persistent burning AoE on the ground. You throw it down once and any minion that hits that threshold while in that burn area just gets melted. It is so much easier to last hit with Iggy and Scorch than like anybody else, because he has that maybe Morgash is pretty easy now too, but
he's one of the few heroes in the game that can take an entire minion wave with one ability. If that minion wave, regardless of the size of the wave, in a lot of cases too, is that the wave, just the way it sits, his E is large enough, he can hit both aspects of the ranged and melee minions, and they will all die at certain points. Right. And that's insane. Nobody else has that kind of clearing power in one ability.
And the range is pretty far too. Like you could throw the E and right click pretty far, pretty safely. Like I was playing him off lane.
Yeah, the right click is definitely got a good length on it. That I didn't realize it was that far as when I was using it. I actually touched him.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone, especially in off lane, unless you're getting lots of jungle support, that can really stand up to him, because he can just farm so safely. Like even if you push up to turret, like he just sits there, and then if he pushes you to turret, he just keeps his turrets in a line behind him, and he has so much movement speed, and he can just run away from you. And when he throws his E down, I do it all the time. Like, oh, you're wanting to engage on me? Okay, I'm just gonna throw the E at my feet, put my ultimate down and now you're dead. Like I'm just gonna cook you alive. Like so as soon as he gets like one item, if he gets up the percentage health burn item,
Eldritch Flame, yeah,
Eldritch Flame, you can't do anything to him in lane anymore.
And that's, I've seen Iggy's, they either first item Eldritch Flame or they first item Matter Limiter.
That's what I was going to say. Matter Limiter is
between the two. That one item puts Iggy on top almost every single game. It's crazy.
You become ungankable if you have turrets out. Nobody's going to be able to catch you while they're being slowed and you're sped up.
And this is why Jelly doesn't like him, because he's a jungle main and he hates the fact he can't gank him.
I'll say this about Iggy and Scorch though. He's nowhere near the overpowered nature that Feng Miao was upon release.
Oh my gosh,
like,
right?
He doesn't need nearly as much love as much hate, I should say, as Feng Miao did. But
Feng is still
he could definitely use some adjustments. Definitely mainly I think in the PvE aspect of him. I mean, we all immediately figured out that we could solo Prime with him. Like immediately figured that out.
Right.
Because that's what you do with a turret-based hero in a MOBA, is you solo major objectives with your turrets.
Yep.
But it just never feels good for it to be that easy.
Something else I want to say real quick is the Iggy avatar is currently not in the game in any way, shape, or form. So they have to patch between now and then, at least something small.
Right. Now, is that something they could just do a hotfix and add that in? Or
they could, yeah. I mean, it's like they've recently been doing their patches where you don't even have to stop; you just have to restart the game after you get the game.
Yep.
And they could easily do something like that to put it in there, but as of right now, it's not in.
Okay. Music for Life asked, do we think his E needs to be nerfed in his range?
I think that would help.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about his casting range, or how far he's able to cast that out? All right.
I think both the casting range and the range of the
AoE, the actual AoE of it.
And not even that much, right? Make it that it's just enough that I can't hit both ranged and melee minions consistently, right? If it takes good wave manipulation to do that, fine. But where the waves just naturally come to a point where I can drop it dead center and get both of them, that's a bit much.
I slightly disagree. I do think that his range on cast should be lowered, because I think you should be, right now it's way too safe to throw it out along with right click. I don't mind right click's range because it's a full skill shot, right? You have to hit it. But layering those two things and having them both be super far out just, again, gives you freedom to farm and stay relevant or ahead too easily. So I don't know if I necessarily think you have to do both. I do think you should do one or the other. So either you make it to where you can't, that you could be punished by walking forward, because if you look at like Gideon does the same thing. He can farm basically so far away, and it makes him really difficult to deal with in lane. I don't think that it's a problem that he can do it on the scale that he does. I just think that he needs to be punished for wanting to use that as a wave clear rather than for killing or whatever. So that's how I look at it, because right now his power is so away from what I would consider his core abilities, which is, or should be, his core identity, which is his turrets. So I actually think that they should lower the range at which you cast his E and make the turrets less tanky, but the turrets can do more DPS, like based off of you landing an auto attack, or they scale off of something, you know what I mean? The attack speed scales. So that way the DPS is coming more from your turrets rather than from your E and your right click, because that's where they really are coming from, or your ultimate when you have it up, which with items you get your ultimate like every team fight. It's always up.
More often than not, his turrets just become minion magnets. Like they're not really using them for damage in any way, shape, or form. You're keeping minions at bay. You're keeping them off your tower. You toss E and right click to do all of your damage. Like it's insane. That's for a turret character to not really use his turrets is weird.
Right. And then music also says, why not take the slow away? I don't agree with taking the slow away, just because I know, like, I think that I speak for the lower elo people anyways. So I think that a lot of people don't understand his passive and the fact that you put a turret down to give a movement speed or whatever. So that being there also kind of helps the lower elo people out that are still trying to understand the hero, get to learn the hero. So that slow is definitely a benefit of trying to escape, because right now you look at him without using his turrets, he's got no escape, he's got no movement. Like he's probably the weakest hero in that regard. So him having his turrets and that ability is the best thing for him, but people need to learn that and understand that first.
I think the slow on his E is probably a tad strong. I don't want it removed, but when you're slowed by that thing, it's like a 40% slow. Like you are slow when you're walking through that flame.
Yeah.
And with the damage it already does, like the two things, it's just a double whammy that you're like, well, I don't get to leave and I get to take all that damage for nothing.
Yep.
I mean,
Right.
I think I like the slow on it if they were to reduce the range. Like if they reduce the range, keep the slow, because it plays into the fantasy of the turret-based hero, the zone control hero of, if you come close to me, I will fuck you up. But if you stay out of my way, you're going to be fine. So, and you can slowly push forward that way and take advantage of that play style. But right now, he's a mage that has some turrets that can tank the OverPrime for you.
Soul Reaper says make the slow stacking, in his opinion.
Like
Thoughts on that? Yeah.
I don't-
The longer you stay in it, the more slow you happens to you.
I mean, it's an okay idea. I think honestly, the way that his current kit is, for the most part, is fine. Again, I think that they should remove some of the power away from his casting abilities and put them into his turrets, because right now setting up your turrets becomes like, after the first 3 or 4 levels, turrets become less important in my opinion. I use them more for to set up a line for movement ability rather than for DPS and for doing damage. And it's just not that big of a deal. At that point, I'm maxed out. I'm trying to max my E and then maxing my right click. I don't even worry about maxing out my Q, because it scales off of your magic power anyway. So it's going to be tankier, and the damage is kind of whatever. So that's how I think, if they're going to change his kit or make it a nerf or an adjustment, I think that they should adjust towards building more power into his turrets, taking away a little bit of the abilities of his casts, right click and E in particular, in some capacity. But I don't think removing the slow is a good idea, or stacking the slow, because like you said, he has no escape abilities at all. And the speed up from his turrets is decent. It's not a crazy amount. It's not like you're whipping around, like you're a little bit faster, but not like astronomically faster. And it's not like they stack, so like having multiple turrets right in the same spot doesn't make you go woo really fast, so having that as like, I'm throwing it down on me and I'm going to try and waddle away from like a Chimera or anybody else who can have hard CC and gain Q. I think it's fair,
Okay,
in my opinion.
So I do want to dissect a little bit into their little opening message here about this master race. And the last sentence of the first paragraph says, "We've learned from this going forward and have made steps to make sure that things are better organized despite other events taking place." What do you guys think this means in their regards?
I think they took what we've been saying to heart, that they should have had this, everything that they needed to do to release Iggy should have been pre-planned, pre-uploaded, so that they could just go live with it, and that was it. Like, there's no reason why this shit shouldn't have been done before they ever left for Germany. It's not that hard. I can make a YouTube video, schedule it for a month from now, and have it pop up a month from now. You know what I mean?
And
Right.
with One Up coming out over a month ago, right, with the stream happening even before that, where they announced Iggy and Scorch, why weren't these things in the works already?
Right.
So I think they realized that they made a mistake. I like this. I like that they've identified that they made a mistake. They're apologizing to the community. They're saying that they're going to learn from it and move on. But how many times have we heard this from them? You know what I mean? Like, we were talking about that amongst ourselves. I said they went from being that friend that hits on your wife and pisses in the fridge to being the cheating husband. Like, no, it's okay, baby. I'm not going to do it again. It was just the second or third time. It won't happen again, I swear.
Becoming Boy Who Cried Wolf, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Okay. We won't do it again. Yep. Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that, not Viking. Last time on For the Minions, Viking tried to replay it and it didn't work very well. So
Yeah, he's talking about shit on floors and stuff.
yeah. and
it
it wasn't even the wife that they were hitting on. It was doing other things to another person, which I was like, whoa, hold up.
I couldn't
Hitting on the
remember.
daughter. I think is what he said.
Yeah. And as the guy with the daughter, I'm like, whoa, man, holy cow, that went aggressive.
I have a daughter too. That's why I couldn't remember what it all was. It's not my saying. I just knew that it was applicable in that situation. It still worked. It
definitely did still work. It did. I just thought it was hilarious.
Your cat's litter box, so you wake up and think, what the fuck did my cat eat?
Right.
That would be you.
All right. So we do have a community member that we want to showcase here. So I'm going to switch over and show those going on. Jelly, I didn't have a chance to send them to you yet. So you do have the stream pulled up, so you'll be able to see them live. So in that, we'll switch over here. So these are all drawings from community member Alsasa. And in my opinion, they're amazing. And I don't know if they're all pencil work or pen work or however they're done, but I really enjoy them. This one, you can tell this one is the character that won't get back into the game. They said they'll never get Wukong back. So this is more like paying homage to the Paragon hero. Yeah. Thoughts on this one, guys?
Did they ever actually say that? You're joking.
No,
right?
I'm joking. I'm totally joking. I just don't like Wukong.
But they did say that about Sereth. I heard them talk about it. They told me in a secret DM.
And a secret DM.
Yeah, it was only to me. So I mean, I would share it, but it's
And I deleted it.
confidential.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Sereth's never getting added. Get out.
No. So
No, I think this is super cool. Actually, I think the whole idea of him kind of leaning on the staff a little bit is a cool idea, and overall, just the art style is really nice.
yes. Then we got Countess,
yeah, the Countess one is hot.
right?
Yeah, it's,
All the Countess ones are.
I just love the artwork, the you're obviously, but they're able to shade with using the same color. Like it's very good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's
I've been-
definitely some extenuation going on in this one.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Caleb's got the
She's not that skinny. Like that's a really small waist.
Yeah. That's the only thing. Yeah, that's
What we're talking about. For some reason in the drawing, they shrunk everything but her boobs.
Yeah. And where's her armpit
really
hair?
nice. It's why would she have armpit hair? Get the fuck out of here.
I thought Beatrice was a French name.
I think it's amazing that. Well, that's just xenophobic towards the French. It is nice,
and not
that
even the right game either.
they're inspiring their community.
That was more what I was
to do
going
things
for.
like this.
Oh boy.
Like, and this is showcased on their Discord. Like, you can go to their Discord and pull these up. But yeah, I think it's a great thing, and I hope we saw this with Jay Offlane. He did most of their avatars. Like, he was doing artwork for Fault, and they brought him in. It would be, oh my god, I can see myself in your computer behind you. Anyway. Anyway, I mean, it would be cool if we could see some of these concepts, like the ones we're going to see a little bit down the line, become skins for Fault, and credit go to Alsasa.
Yes. Speaking of,
At least I saw.
the community member is in chat right now. Howdy, Alsasa. How we doing?
Hey.
So, next one we got is another Countess, little bunny-eared one. This one we've seen before in the Discord, like you were saying, Mangoose.
Yeah.
But this one's a nice one. This one kind of gives me now I can't think of his name. Playboy guy.
Hugh Hefner.
Hugh Hefner. Yeah, this gives me Hugh Hefner vibes. Like I feel like he requested.
Like Hugh Hefner.
No, but it's like he requested this drawing. Is what I'm getting at.
That's Bunny Girl Senpai, 100%.
Oh boy.
I don't even know what you're
I'm
talking
noticing some
about.
extenuated features there. I think those ears are probably unrealistic.
Yeah, her daggers aren't that long.
I think the word you're looking for too is accentuated.
Whatever. one of those words, man.
One of those words. All right.
But yeah, I'd
Then
love to see
this one's for Jelly.
This one I guarantee is going to be incredible.
This one's for Jelly.
Perfect. Yep.
Yep.
I'm in.
So
Where do I
yeah,
sign?
so
Where do I
If you
sign?
guys- if you guys haven't seen it, there was a concept for Kalari without her mask.
Mhm.
This is the only reason we know that Kalari's a female is because of the skin's concept of Kalari without the mask, and I think that's what this is based on.
That's not the
And, I
only
think it looks really
reason. I mean, in the lore, Kalari and Muriel are sisters, so you can't.
Did they say?
Not-
did they ever
yes.
say that?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
I pulled
it's
it.
2022.
Yeah.
Anyone can be a sister if they want to be a sister, okay? People walk around the street and be like, hey, sister.
All right.
Right?
Well, hey guys.
Bam. Like, it's just that easy.
The For the Minion sisters, they invade the partner panel.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We're for the Minion sisters.
Might be a sister from another mister, but I don't know, man.
Sisters are always hotter. You
They
know,
don't look
like, it's
they
just
don't
one
look
of
that
those
much
things.
alike.
Viking's just shaking his head. Not even. He's just like, no.
But I think this is something. This is another thing that I think Fault could.
The Beta sisters.
If they could jump advantage, if they could jump on this and create a no mask, like human version.
No,
Kalari
100%.
skin, that would bring so many players in because players love Kalari, and I think
Yep.
that they would love to see an unmasked skin of.
But we
Kalari.
would need skins for that first, Mangoose.
That's what he's trying to get out of this.
I'm saying,
No,
Jelly.
I'm not saying a Kalari skin. I'm just saying we need skins in general.
yeah, I know what you're saying.
No, I'm talking bearded now.
All right.
Yeah, big fan. Approved. Everybody go out buy this skin. Guaranteed.
Yeah, people would go for that skin, 100%.
So, is this Countess in both of these?
No, that's Yin.
That's Yin. Yin's in the top one, right?
Crunch and Revenant. Yeah.
All right.
I like the Revenant one. I mean, the girls are hot. Like, let's not. But I like the Revenant. Looks spooky.
Speaking of Yin, I want Yin in one of these games so bad.
Why?
Oh, because she was just by far one of the more fun carries.
Yeah, 100%. I love Yin.
I'm not disagreeing with you guys because I can't actually, because I've actually never played her. When I played Paragon, I was always the ranged guy. I couldn't unless I played Terra, right? And then that was up close, and that's the only reason I played Terra is because she had the anti-CC, she had the shield and all that stuff. So like the range, a melee character. I know she was obviously like extended melee, but like
Ranged melee. Yeah.
like it was a little bit different. But like anybody who was a melee character, I'm like, nope. Was like, not touching them. I'm like, so I always avoided them, and that's why I played ADC because I felt like I was horrible at the game, and if I would engage like that, I'm like, well, I was pretty much no matter what hero I was that was a melee character, I was pretty much a Chimero. I'm all in because there's no getting out type situation.
So I am curious about your guys' thought on this though. Do you think that Yin's ultimate of blocking and reflecting projectiles would be good in Fault at the moment? Do you think there's enough projectiles to be worthwhile?
No.
Yeah, 100% think so.
You think so? I don't. I don't think.
I don't think it would be as effective as it was in Paragon, because Paragon you could catch like a Revenant's Obliterate in it and send it right back into his face, like all at once.
And that's or like a Rampage Rock was the big one, right? And that's where I think like great, you can block Decker Q would be the biggest thing you could block right now. Right? Maybe a Grim ult if that would even count. But past that, what real projectiles do we have to block with a Yin ult?
I think and this is not to go too much off partner panel, but if this was OverPrime, I'd say 100% yes, because it's faster paced. There's a lot more drama going on. I feel like Fault is in its current state a little bit slower, not necessarily in a bad way, but I feel like an ultimate like that, where it's like a situational, turn the tide of the fight kind of ultimate. I don't know when you would use it. Like, I don't know when you would use it enough to I feel like it would be like one of those ultimates where you're constantly holding on to it, waiting for the right moment. And that right moment just never quite goes. And you're just like, dang, I should have used it in the last fight because now we're not doing anything for another 10 minutes.
I think
it was also just a mega slow though. I mean,
I think it's less game speed. I think it's way more characters that are in the game. OverPrime has way more characters with projectiles on their kit than Fault does currently.
Yeah,
I mean,
so chat's going off. We got Decker Q, Iggy right click, Gideon right click. Well, Gideon's rock over both of his rocks.
Mhm.
And then Iggy's fireball. We got Narbash Stunk, Kalari Dagger.
To me, the biggest one still in there is the Decker Q,
Yeah.
right?
But I
Like,
mean,
that's-
most of that stuff can just be reflected with their basic ability, though. Like that's
Yeah.
basic ability knockbacks. Like the stuff that you kind of used her ultimate for back in the day was when you got massively assaulted and you could catch a bunch, like a rampage rock and an obliterate and like a cup and like some Iggy turret shots and stuff, and then throw those back into somebody's face. And like you don't have that in Fault. You don't have enough characters in Fault right now. I'm with Jelly on this. I think a right click would still be pretty effective. Not as effective. Like it was definitely, they introduced her to counter rampage rocks
Mhm.
100%, and rampage isn't in the game yet. But I think Yin's real power, the real beauty of playing Yin, was she's one of the very few ADCs in Paragon that truly took advantage of it being a third person MOBA. She could actually do things along the Z axis by using her flip kick thing. Like she would whip to somebody and then, kick off their head and flip up into the air. So she could traverse terrain that other people couldn't. And you don't see that from ADCs in Paragon too often. Twin Blast a little bit with his rocket boots, but not really.
She's one of the few characters that actually went in on fights like that, comparatively to the other carries.
Exactly, yeah.
That they can go in, but it is not like core to their identity, right? Whereas Yin, that was part of your combo, was you go in on them and then just pop off all your stuff, right? Which was super cool for a carry to be that aggressive at the same time.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna give her a try because like I said, that's one thing I loved about these para zombies is it's give me the ability to actually go try the heroes that I didn't get a chance or I neglected in Paragon because it just wasn't my play style. And now that I've understand what a MOBA is and I'm getting better at it, a MOBA, like now I want to go and try all of these heroes that I remember them being in the game. Like Rampage. I never played Rampage in Paragon, so getting to play Rampage in Predecessor and in OverPrime was really cool. I'm like, oh man, I get to actually see what this guy's like now. All right. And so stuff like that was definitely really cool. And then all the heroes that are brought into Fault, that I haven't played, Iggy being one of them. I get to play Iggy. I'm like, oh man, I never played this guy. So yeah, stuff like that I really enjoy. So I'm definitely gonna give her a shot. It was never my thing, so I don't even know really what the rest of her kit is. I know she had the part where she could jump onto people or use, what was it? She could jump from teammates' heads, opponents' heads, and then minions, and then even like raptors or whatever. Like, couldn't she do that as like she could jump on pretty much anything that she could interact with her lasso, right?
I think she could only do it
On enemies.
on heroes.
On enemies? Okay, on heroes. Okay, so
She could do it on friendlies.
okay.
Like
So
if you had a Fig Bell that dashed up to the ledge in mid lane, you could fucking whip off his head and then help gank mid lane.
okay, gotcha.
But she had the flip kick. She had the whip extension that made her whip go just as far as it gave it a pierce sort of action and made it go just as far as a regular basic attack would. And then she had the damage reflect and then her ultimate.
Right. So, all right.
We had a
projectile
roadmap of champions that were going to be coming out soon.
But another thing this artwork kind of brings up too is, and I know we're getting back on this. We're beating a bit of a dead horse here, but the skins. I don't understand why they aren't focused more on skins. I know that seems like such a dumb thing to be focused on skins when there's so much to be added into the game, but it's you're killing two birds with one stone. When you make a cool skin for a Paragon hero, you're attracting more of the Paragon player base, or just a cool skin will just attract anybody from any other game in to play the hero if they like that skin, and it also gives them something to sell and make money off of. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't be diverting a lot of your resources towards skin production. And maybe they are doing that and we just don't know yet. They're going to dump a bunch of skins on us. But I mean, just like the picture we had before that, I mean, we're looking at Crunch now, like give him like a Terminator skull face.
That would be cool.
That would be fucking badass.
Like a bare bones Crunch. Yeah, you go as bare bones as possible. Terminator skull face. Dude, I'm in. I'll buy it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Instead of Skynet, Sky Crunch.
I mean, I
get that.
agree. I do think that there's, to me, there's the two parts of it. I think they need to release more fun champions because, and I said this on FTM, but Iggy's fun to play. He's the most fun I've had playing Fault since Fault came out. I have not enjoyed playing Fault as much as I have played it recently, and it has a lot to do with Iggy. I think his kit is fun to play. It's engaging, it's unique, it's neat, I just really enjoy it. It feels more like a modern take on the MOBA that I fell in love with back in Paragon days. Like, but I don't want same old Paragon. I don't, because it's an old game at this point. I want new, more exciting versions of that. And I think you need both. You need exciting champions and skins that go along with those, like, because they're free to play now. They have to make money, and if they're not releasing skins, then how are they going to be able to maintain servers and salaries or whatever? Like, and with a lack of roadmap, and I think that's another thing, they need to release some kind of roadmap. They need to talk to the players and be like, hey guys, we're working on XYZ things. Here's our relative time frame for getting you a new champion and a new skin line or whatever. But right now, kind of just with nothing, I don't know. It just doesn't make me excited to keep logging in to play, each day.
Yep, I agree. Angus, I saw you just replied, but I did want to bring that up too. So Flying Gazelle says, to be fair, Smite goes that route, and it's a point of frequent criticism because the core game is lacking with regard to the skins. So I do see a lot of Smite players complaining about that. Like, the game itself is lacking. Obviously their skin game is insane with what they got going on. I mean, they had Turtles not too long ago, and they had Slipknot just not, even closer than that. And, their skins are crazy. I agree, but I don't play the game, so I don't know how the actual gameplay itself is. But I mean, if that's an actual complaint with the community, I mean, we would want to obviously find that balance here with Fault, because obviously the gameplay in Fault does need some work. It's good from compared to where it was at EA launch, and it's obviously, and it's even better from when it was on 13. But
we're not asking for 5 to 8 skins a patch, though, right? Like, even if they spent a couple months making a dozen skins and then released a new one a month, but they're all absolutely amazing, right? That's at least skin generation going forward, while they still can work on the game aside from that. Right, but like 0 skins and 8 skins, there's a huge margin in between that they can hit.
Right. No, I agree.
I agree with the take, though. Like, if a new skin came out for your favorite champion and you go in there, but the game still doesn't feel good, then you just be like, okay, well, I just wasted the money on the skin and I don't even like it and I'm not going to play it. Like that, I would feel bummed, right? So it to me, that's why I said I think you got to walk both lines. It's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy, but they need to do both. They need to be releasing good skins, making the game better, and releasing fun champions that are engaging. They need to basically be doing all 3 of those things.
But obviously Hi-Rez can't even do that with all the money they have. So
yeah, but they're the only ones consistently in that space right now. So that's, and I've been saying this for a while. I mean, me and Jelly, when we first became friends, started talking about the old Paragon days. That was one of the first things I said about Smite. Smite's only successful because there's nobody else really in the space, in my opinion. I don't think Smite's a terrible game. I don't think it's a great game. I think it's just a good enough game to keep people who want something different in the MOBA space to keep playing it. And if these Parazombies come out and can do a better job of making a better game than what Smite is, then people who are playing Smite will come here. But right now, there's just not really a lot of incentive in any of the Parazombies to really grab that large of an audience like Smite is garnering. And I think that's why they're able to kind of keep doing well, is it's a good enough game with interesting enough skins that people are like, well, it's this or League of Legends or Dota, and I don't want to play those guys, so I'm going to play Smite.
I think Smite's the definition of coasting, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing pushing Smite to be better. Right. It's not like League and Dota constantly are competing with each other
100%.
in their events, in their gameplay, in their champion design, in all of those things, right? So they are constantly pushing each other to be better. We say all the time on FTM, right? High tide raises all ships.
Yep.
Right. Currently, there is no other ship to raise than Smite. So Smite is deciding what the tide is set to, and it doesn't matter. And so there's nothing to compete with. So they don't have to push themselves. They can do cool partnerships and sell a bunch of partnered skins and call it that way. And that's all they have to do, because what are the players going to go play? I mean, they're on UE3 still. Like, that's the insane thing to me.
Yep.
There are 2 engine versions behind, and people are still playing that game. And like, I get like CS:GO's source engine, that's a whole thing, but that says something, right? That they've not felt the need to innovate in so long that there are 2 full engine versions behind.
I think Flying Gazelle's kind of nailed it on the head too. That there's no other MOBA out there that does cross console play, and third person MOBAs are the ones that you can really do console play with. You can't really. I mean, you saw Genesis try, and it just failed.
So I'm glad we're actually talking about this because most recently we talked about it on the last partner panel. It was a huge Smite streamer, Incon. He was one of the ad streamers that he did an ad for him, or a sponsor stream, or whatever. He did his time, and then he came back 2 days later and actually played the game by himself. He liked it enough to where he came back, did it. He played it himself.
I played with him.
Right. Right. So but he came back and played, and he got his level 5 so he could play PvP. He went to go play PvP, and he sat in queue forever, couldn't get a queue, and so he ended up leaving and going to play another game. So I have a clip here that I want to play for everybody. It's labeled "Fault in a Nutshell." So we're going to play this for everybody.
Got to turn my sound on.
You can if you want, or I can just link it to you and you can watch it later or whatever. But
yeah, that is true, Sam. If that is true, yeah. Fault is a really cool game that has no players, unfortunately. So it's just like, if everybody all at once decided to start playing it, then it would be dope. But unfortunately, it just is what it is.
So basically what he said, Fault is a really good game, and if everybody just quit doing what they were doing and went and played Fault would be an amazing game, but it has no players. That's where we're at right now. So if we could get something that could help us get the player base to grow, we'd be in a lot better position.
So I know this is partner panel, but like, I mean, this is on SMS. Like, they have every opportunity, in my opinion, to be able to capitalize on being the only one in the space that's, because the other pair of zombies are coming, but right now they're the only ones that are here. And I still feel like there's just no, like, on launch to going free to play, there was no big acquisition of a streamer that, is going to bring in, thousands of new players. I mean, it was kind of a bundled launch with Epic not being ready at the same time that Steam was. It's like, Fault is a good enough game that people should be playing it, and we said that on FTM. Like, we think that it's a good enough game that people can play it and will have fun. But how do you get more people? Like, the word of mouth is only going to take you so far. There's not enough people playing it to word of mouth to their friends to download it and play it. And then couple this in, people that do join and come in, and then they get flamed super hard for having a bad game and just getting shit on. It just so the toxicity that is ingrained currently in Fault, I think, would also be a big issue. And they don't really have a very good, like, culture remedy to be able to, like, fix that. At least not one that is getting feedback oriented. Well, at least I've not seen it.
So I want to touch on something Bearded said about Incon doing a
sponsored
stream for Fault.
Yep.
You said that his second stream is when he hit level 5 and was able to play PvP, correct?
Yeah.
Why on earth are they sponsoring a streamer to play AI matches?
I don't think, I mean, we know it's a great point. I think this was through POQ. I don't think it was actually through Fault SMS themselves, or some other thing that came up. I don't know exactly how it went. It definitely wasn't handled the best way, in my opinion, because the same thing was happening. I think there was a Chris Dickinson or whatever, another Smite streamer, decently sized. I don't know what he's got. I don't watch his Smite streams, so I don't know what his numbers are. I just recognize Incon because I saw Incon. He played OverPrime, and I believe he's also played Pred as well. So he's definitely got an opinion on all three of them. So I recognized him, I remembered him, so I've kind of kept an eye on him. But the couple of the streamers, I don't know.
Even if it's a pocket full of quarters sponsored stream, which is weird in its own right, that's still such a weird choice. Like if you're trying to hype up a game, you should be hyping up a game at its peak. And there's no question that the game is better against actual players than it is against bots.
Yes.
Right. And so why at all a sponsored stream, give him an account that's already level 5, right? He goes in, plays a bot game to start whatever it is, and then is able to go right into PvP afterwards. But that's for an entire sponsored stream to be on bots is just a bad look.
But I don't know if you just want to give him a PvP account though, and just throw him to the wolves without.
Let's tell him like, hey, play a bot game first.
Yeah.
Right. But your account's ready for PvP when you feel ready for it. Right. That way he doesn't have to grind a 3-hour stream into bots. Like that's especially an experienced streamer and somebody that's played a MOBA at a streamer level, right? That they play consistently enough with a community behind them, right? You want to see the game at its best. You want to see where the game succeeds. That's a weird choice, is to not have him able to play PvP.
Where did they announce it? Where did they announce that? Because I had no idea.
They haven't.
Where did they announce this Incon stream? Where did they announce it beforehand?
It wasn't announced.
Why not? If you're going to pay for this dude to stream your game, then fucking let people know this dude's streaming your game.
But why? I mean, I guess, but I mean, like, why? Like,
generate a little bit of hype.
Why wouldn't you?
Because you already have this community. So what is this community going to watch his stream going to do? But
you bolster his numbers, so you make it beneficial for him, aside from the monetary aspect. If your community was unsure about your game and stopped playing, but they like Incon, they come back to your game. Then you've also got more people involved in his chat, which could convince other people in his chat to play the game afterwards. There's no downsides to pushing your community to this streamer, and only upsides. Like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the algorithm will grab it too. Like if he's trending as you know, then that's going to help. I think it's all the above. I mean, I will say this, because I don't want this to be like a complete like shitting on SMS and all their failures. I feel like at least recently, I don't know if it's just because they've been listening to a lot of the feedback that community members have been doing, or if they just had this in their back pocket as a plan. It does seem like they're starting to step up a little bit more and be a little bit more communicative. So if that's the case, right, with this most recent thing that they did for Iggy and kind of like acknowledging that it wasn't as ideal and it kind of all was a mess overall, cool. Let's see now what's going to happen. Like, I mean, because I worry about it. Like, I think Default has a really good chance to solidify itself as the game to play, but they are their own worst enemy in creating that reality. And so if they're making adjustments or bringing in new people or whatever it is to be able to get there, then I think it has a chance, because the game is good. The bones of the game is good. It's not worse than Smite. And that's the other thing too. And we talked about this, I think, before, is it's like there's a lot of really bad games out there, but people like it because there's some aspect to it that the core gameplay is good, skins are good, or whatever it is, it can bring people in. I think Fault's biggest enemy is themselves. They're not quick enough on the draw to get more people in and involved in, especially since they've gone to free to play. So if they can fix that, I think they have a chance to get an influx of cash, maybe hire in some more people to help out with, you know, back end stuff, and get things moving. Because that's I don't know. I do think they have a chance though.
They never seem to have a functional plan.
Yeah, I don't
know. Yeah, it's with the other games coming out, that's going to be the real sink or swim test. Because maybe maybe Predecessor and OverPrime will come out and people will realize that, okay, well, this was fun for the weekend, but I actually preferred Fault over this one. And if people are like start, you know, more and more coming from those games over into Fault, then maybe that'll be good for Fault. But, you know, on the other hand, that could just completely dry up the community. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think right now, Fault definitely is in last place as far as the court of public opinion.
Well, especially with the announcement that Brett had. that Pred announcement of going to UE5 and it already being a pretty smooth transition. Like the fact that they did it before they got the player base in, like right now for Fault to do it, it's going to be a bumpy transition because you're going to, you have to do all of the back end work for it, like Pred did that all before they got everybody in here. So then there was very limited back end work. And, but them going to UE5 and Jelly, I bring that up. Can you, or can any of you, I know Jelly works with the development team with Ethereal. So, what are the benefits of UE5 for a consumer, and what are the benefits for UE5 for a developer?
I mean, I think they go hand in hand. And I'm not a dev, but so the little bit that I do know about UE5 is just.
All right, so Jelly?
He's not here.
I'm kidding. just the fact that you said like I'm not. I'm just kidding.
I'm not an expert. I mean, maybe Jelly can add in more when he gets back. But like, I mean, to me, it's just the visual clarity that UE5 brings. Like, it's so crisp and it's super fast. Like the optimization for UE5 is crazy quick. The hard part though, and this is something that I think that is going to plague a lot of these pair zombies, is you still need a pretty decent rig to play on UE5. And if you're like, one of the success points for Dota and League of Legends is that you can play those things on a toaster. Like they run on really bad machines. So it'll be a struggle. And then the other aspect of this it's not really being talked about is consoles not running on UE5, so that's another porting thing that they're going to have to figure out from their coding. So I don't know. I think it's a win for the community as a whole that if you can run it, but if you're stuck on an older machine, you're going to be struggling on UE5 because it's just
console doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what engine it is once it gets ported over to console.
Well, I won't. I thought that there was more to it than that, but
and UE5 actually offers better optimization too. So you would.
But doesn't have a bigger GPU tax. That's what when they did the Matrix Reloaded or whatever run, that was one of the things I saw. I think
that's because they're trying to show off the highest quality power of UE5 in games like that, right?
I mean, well, that was for sure. Like, I mean, I just remember there was a lot about like, yes, it's really exciting, it's amazing technology. However, if you're not running on, a current generation of GPU, you might be struggling to be able to really take advantage of what UE5 offers. And so like that's what I'm saying. It's like it's kind of like it really just depends. But yeah, here's Jelly, so maybe he can add in a little bit more about the benefits for devs and players for like a game like Pred going to UE5, the challenges that might come with it for these other pair of zombies that are not on UE5. Oh, you're muted.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
So,
hello.
Fault. I don't know what engine version Fault is using.
It's
anything earlier. Oh, go ahead.
4.7, I think, or whatever. 4.5. 4.5. It's the one that it gives them the ability to transition to UE5. Whatever that. I remember that being a thing. Whatever one that was.
Every version can transfer to UE5. So.
Well, no, I thought there was one that was like anything that was below this. You'd have to basically upgrade to this version, then transfer it to UE5. That's the way I was understood it.
Unreal Engine has said that twice. They originally said that engine version 4.26 was the version that was going to transfer into UE5, would be the last one.
That's the one.
They then immediately after released 4.27 and said, actually, it's 4.27. And if you're on 4.26, you will have different issues transitioning to UE5. So if they're on 4.26, they will face some challenges transitioning because there are systems that are being retired from UE 4.26 when you transition to UE5 that would have to be rebuilt from the ground up, or at least partially rebuilt. And that would depend on their team's ability to do that, their knowledge base in that system, all of those things. There's no question UE5 is going to be vastly beneficial for any game coming out for the considerable future comparatively to UE4 or anything even earlier than that. Purely because optimization is just insane in UE5. They've completely redone the frameworks of how optimization works for systems like lighting and graphics. So you can, I heard Viking mention the Matrix demo. The Matrix demo was pushing to the limits of UE5 currently and probably wasn't the most optimized thing on the planet, but utilized a lot of those new systems to still be playable to 30 FPS on a vast majority of systems that if you'd done that in UE4 would never have stood a chance.
Okay.
So those are the big things. So Predecessor moving to UE5 is beneficial in that things can look slightly better. And it's talking about going from like 98% to 99 or 100% in terms of quality. So it's not a huge difference in terms of quality at the top end, but there is a difference. But for the lower end, the performance goes up drastically.
Okay. All right. So that's the consumer side of it. You're going to get better performance, especially lower end performance out of that situation. Okay.
Yeah, from the developer side, you just get better tools.
Oh, dude, the UE5 tools are insane. They're so good, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, people don't understand the kind of tools that come with the Unreal Engine, with any kind of gaming engine. Gas being one of them that was talked about, gameplay ability system that's integrated into Unreal Engine. What that does is it's gameplay prediction. Like if you shoot a shot, it predicts that your shot's going to hit that person and then gives you that feedback instantly. That was the problem with Predecessor's very first alpha.
Yes,
they weren't using gas, so you never. Everything felt laggy because you weren't using gas. So like the
were they using Teslas?
Well, they were using Teslas. That's why they couldn't go as fast. But yeah, it was just there's so many different little systems and programs like that the engine gives you access to that makes gameplay development so much easier on the entire team. And UE5 has a lot more than UE4.
Okay. Now, Magus, you were
developed with consumers in mind, more than just like the performance aspect of consumers. That it's easier for just everyday consumers to get into UE5 and create a game and send it out than it ever was for UE4. Just the systems that like gas, for instance, or that it's a lot more plug and play than previous versions were. So it's just easier across the board to bring in new people that may be less comfortable with Unreal Engine, but can quickly adapt because it's so easy to pick up after the fact.
Now, when you say consumers, you mean the developer side of it?
Consumers of UE5, yes. So the developers.
Gotcha. All right. Now we kind of had a confliction of thoughts while you were gone. Viking was saying that he thinks like porting a console makes it harder with UE5 or not possible with UE5, and then Mangoose was saying that it didn't matter with that. Do you know anything about that, Jelly?
In terms of console ports, I'd imagine it's the same or easier. I wouldn't imagine they removed that functionality in any way.
Okay.
Yeah, what engine you use to build your game doesn't have really much effect on the port for other.
Gotcha.
I think it's the same or easier. I don't imagine they'd make that worse, especially with the increase in people wanting games on both PC and console.
Gotcha. And that wasn't a bash on you, Viking. That was just me trying to clarify my own ignorance because I didn't know. I got 1% something. Oh, interesting. That person said something that conflicted that. I'm like, ooh, I don't know now. Like, which one is it? So,
no, I was basing my opinion off of when they did the Matrix as the showcase because they put it on console too, and there was lots of like side by side comparisons and saying, and this was like I saw this from other creators. It's not me. I'm not smart enough to know how this shit works. So it was more just like this is the big difference in why UE5 won't matter for console because you're literally not getting anything. This demo means nothing for console players other than you just getting to fly around in the Matrix. So that's where I got it from. Was like, oh well, I wonder if that has anything to do with like the difficulty or if there is just no benefits for UE5 to console players because it's just running on a cool different port or what. I had no idea. So that's why I said that it might not.
I think what we've learned here is that two of us spent a good bit of time studying UE5 and UE4, and two of us spent all our time growing fucking beards.
Yeah, I agree, Maggie.
Yep. and who's really winning here?
It's you two.
Exactly. All right. All right, we do have one more Elsasa.
Gets way more women than knowing about UE5.
You're so sexy knowing about UE5.
Now I'm gonna leave for a minute. I'm gonna go ahead to my wife and tell her about UE5 and see what happens. Maybe the combination of the beard and UE5 knowledge.
Oh, it's just too much power for one person.
Yeah.
All right, we do have one more Elsasa drawing that we got to do a show. I know it's Magoose's favorite, I believe, for the way he reacted when he first saw it. So let's go to that one, and we'll see what we got here. All right, this crunch one, great one. Again, I love the detail with this, the shading, everything. But this one here.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Very cool.
So I get a couple different feelings with this drawing, and I can't think of the first cartoon that I'm thinking of, but I also think of the what is it? The monsters. Real monsters. I think it is.
Real monsters.
Yeah, I think of like holding up the eyes.
I was thinking the same
oh
thing.
my god.
I was thinking Parasite, but okay, yeah, Our Real Monsters. That'll work too.
Oh, the other one I'm thinking of is there was an eye monster for the Power Rangers. Had a bunch of eyes for Power Rangers. It kind of gives me that feel with that as well. But no, I think this is pretty badass. I love the teeth around the faceless version of Sev. Great job there.
Oh, 1,000 Eyes is a good call out, Oda. 1,000 Eyes is a good call out.
So my first instinct upon seeing this skin, honestly, was this is a cool OverPrime skin.
Yeah.
Because this is the same vibe OverPrime skins have gone for Sevarog.
Correct.
Right.
And not to say that Fault couldn't make this and necessarily shouldn't make this, because I think it's still a cool skin regardless. But that I was reminded more of OverPrime when I saw this skin than anything else necessarily.
But no.
This would be such a cool skin for them to do.
Right?
Oh,
Right.
it's so awesome.
100%.
It would be cool.
So
Like
what
the
we're
eye
saying here, SMS, is we need you to reach out to Elsasa and use them and work with them and get some skins rolling, and let's get those input in the game, because these are all pretty badass. Except for Wukong. We can just disregard that one and move on. And
I'll tell you what, a lot of times when I see like fan-made skins, it's stuff that like I kind of already thought of a little bit, or just like a variation of stuff that people already thought of. I never would have thought of doing this with Sevarog. This is fucking amazing. This is so creative and cool, and I just fucking love it so much. Even though I'm not a huge Sevarog player, if this skin was in the game, I'd be playing some fucking Sevarog. I don't care how bad he is.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, again, I know this is partner panel, but like when OverPrime came out and like I saw the Sevarog skins, I was like, dude, I gotta play Sevarog. And then when Jelly, I think, was the one that told me, like, oh yeah, his shoulders get bigger as you farm, and I was like, really? So I was like, okay, so what's the one that I can get to where I have the most obnoxious, big, ridiculous shoulders? And it was fun. It was engaging, and so I think, you know, and we talk about this all the time, but uniqueness to likeness, like you feeling like you get into game and a character either represents you or it, you know, captures something that of an essence of that character or whatever brings you into the world is always fun. And I think that drawing fits Sevarog's essence as a whole very, very well. And yeah, SMS would be silly not to like get more involved with making skins that are more updated rather than continuing to lean on epic skins that are fairly outdated. And
I definitely feel represented by Thousand Eyed Sevarog. So I'm really glad that that's
I bet you do.
a concept. And so
Yeah.
I would really love to be represented in game by that skin. But
100% fits your edgelord personality.
yeah, 100%. The pink and that skin, neck and neck right there, dude.
100%.
so Elsasa does say that they made this before OP got bought by Netmarble.
Jeez, nice.
So yeah. Now, what if this was a tier 4 skin? This is literally while you guys were talking, I thought about this, and obviously it might be OP, but we could bounce ideas off here. But what if it was a tier 4 skin, and the more shoulders or whatever that you got, right? The more stacks you got, the more eyes you got, which would give you vision in a sense of like the D ward, right? You wouldn't have to get the D ward, little green ward, because you would just automatically have this with him. The higher stacks you got, the farther vision you were able to see those wards, then you could
Pay to
do
win.
with that.
You should go to work for a mobile gaming company.
Yeah.
man.
100%. That's not pay to win. It's ridiculous.
Pay to win.
I will buy that skin 10 times over.
Idea bad, you're fired. You're out.
I'm saying we could bounce other ideas. I mean, that's not the only. That was the first one that came to me because seeing the eyes.
okay?
But
I like the first part, the idea, the eyes
Get more eyes.
becoming
Yeah.
becoming multiplied or whatever. And yeah, make it a relatively expensive skin if you can do stuff like that, because it's. I mean, actually, if the skin came in and didn't multiply eyeballs, it just had the eyeballs, I'd probably still buy it. Like, I mean, if the game was good enough to play, I don't like playing Severon because he sucks. And
what if the eyes actually like blinked and looked around?
They would have.
If it's a tier 4, they would have to. Yeah, 100%.
That would be badass.
I would like to see them do an entire Parasite line where just different characters have
that would be cool.
this infection that turns them like this.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
I'd be down.
If only we worked for those guys and made this stuff like a reality. It'd be weird.
All right, Mangoose and I know UE5.
There you go. That's half the battle, I hear.
I know people that draw things, hence why I'm bringing them up on our show. That's all I got.
You're
Sorry.
not the idea guy. You're the
Nah.
idea. You're the guy that finds the ideas.
Yeah. Yep. I'm that guy. So
I'm just a guy.
I'm just a guy.
All right. Next topic. What's up?
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
That's the topic. What's up? What's up? What's up with that?
There were a couple tweets by them. They were one thing I like to see by them. SMS I'm talking about is they were supporting the Comfy Clash tournament that happened last weekend. So seeing those tweets, pushing that out there, that was good by them. Definitely great to see. Then obviously they tweeted out about the race. So it's nice to see now that they're back from Gamescom that their Twitter or their socials are getting more active. So good on them for that.
Having no internet in Germany was just brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal. What I liked about their tweets for the Comfy Clash tournament, it wasn't just a tweet saying, "Hey, here's the Comfy Clash tournament." It also, they literally put the links for the 2 streamers that were doing the what's the word I'm looking for? Casting of the game, the announcing of the game. Yes, they put their links in there so people could just click right on that, go right to the link itself. They obviously had a link for the Comfy Clash. The person that was running it, Indio, our other partner. So it was nice seeing that, like how it was really well put out with that.
Yeah, anytime they support the community, anytime they support their streamers, it's good to see.
For sure.
I mean, and I think that was something that we've been asking for, right? And I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that like it's nice to see that they're finally doing a little bit more. They're being a little bit more proactive. I thought it was great when they started with even just like throwing memes on their Twitter, like whether they landed well or not, that's a whole different thing. But I liked the effort. I thought it was, hey, at least you're doing something. Like it was proactivity, because it does seem like they go into like silence a lot of times, and then you're just kind of left. If we're having to guess at what you're doing, I feel like you're not doing a good job to keep your community engaged. Like we shouldn't have to be constantly like wondering or guessing at where the direction of your game is going. You know what I mean? So, and we're invested in this. Like we're all people are paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So for SMS, a Twitter page that I follow is interesting and entertaining, but I get messages from all the time that they've tweeted, and I'm always impressed with the message, even though I don't play the game as much anymore or anything like that, is Naraka Blade Point's Twitter. They tweet out some really good stuff, like fan art, gameplay, tournaments, they try to put out something, it seems like every day or a couple times a day. And you don't need to go that far with it, but their content is consistent across the board of just like they put out something, right? They're out there in the front announcing tournaments, announcing patches, announcing, right, and trying to get in people's faces with it and supporting the community alongside at the same time. Somebody that I know has played Fault and has been involved in a lot of these communities for the Parazombies is OSK. It's OSK is his Twitch username. He does a lot of videos for Naraka. They tweet him out all the time that he just put out a video about the patch. Go watch his patch notes. Like they do stuff like that all the time. I think it's a really cool baseline of what these companies should be like looking at for examples of what to do in a lot of those cases.
All right, who was that again?
Naraka
OSK
Blade
Gaming?
Point. Yeah.
Oh, no. Man, I wanted so bad to like that game, and I fucking hated it.
Another thing, and I don't think because we missed last week, so we didn't get to talk about this. Another thing they tweeted out about was they had the extra Bellica skins, little codes to get the Bellica skins that came from Gamescom. So people could apply a little giveaway they had on that. And they were giving them away for the next patch that was dropping or something. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that, that tweet. And then I think you also get the Gamescom avatar, which would be this guy here. I'm assuming it's this guy. I have yet to see it in the game. So, but a little interesting. Jelly, have you seen that when you do your data mining? Have you seen that in the game yet?
I was just looking for it. Let me see if it's in there.
Then they got some pictures. Got some pictures posted up here. We got Dater, another partner, with Ryan Red, Balix, and then I believe there's some Dater's friends. You can see somebody here got a fault hat, one of the OG hats. So
nice.
Yeah, I do like that they've been a little bit more active on Twitter. I mean, they even retweeted Windu's tweet, which I thought was Windu's tweet was super cool. I thought that was like a really cool moment, like with him remembering, a pretty big accomplishment and excited for the next version of that through Fault, and them, being bought in on that process and retweeting it out. Like, any community engagement, anything that shows like, hey, we give a fuck about you guys matters. Right. And more, please, like, be creative, just talk to us, let us know what's going on.
Yeah. Music for Life actually brings up a great question in the chat of that they did tell us we'd get something for paying for early access. Is that still a thing? Since that, we have not heard any word. They said that they were going to give us some additional cores for the loot box system, and they were going to do something else. And so far, that something else has not come to fruition yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those have to wait and see type situations. I've heard nothing of it, so I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Soon TM.
Maybe another recolor of the Astro Gideon skin.
So I think I remember on For the Minions, Viking brought up, doing a recolor of the Bellica skin that was given away there. I don't think you could actually do a recolor since that was based off the Germany colors. Like, I don't know. I think I threw it out there as an idea because I thought it might be cool to, like, the people that actually showed up there in person to have their own unique. Right. I mean, I got the reason why you were saying it. That made sense to me, but just recoloring the Germany skin to not be Germany skin would be interesting.
You could do it like, I don't know, you could do it like just a different, like the base color of it, or I don't know, there's something they could do something to make it uniquely different than because the idea was that they could buy it, right? So for people who didn't watch the FTM, that they should they release this skin as something that you can purchase in game, because right now you can only get it through one of their codes, right? So if they were to release it as a skin, would people buy it? And two, should it be the same skin or should it be something that's unique? And I still kind of think that it would be cool for the few people, whether it's a handful or not, that got it, that they could say like, I was there or I won it in this contest and it's unique to me. But I also think they need a revenue stream still. So they have this unique skin. Let's find a way to sell it, but still keep the core of like, it's cool for those guys and it's cool for people who buy it, but it's slightly different.
It's a good looking skin. It's surprisingly good looking just for just being the German flag colors. Right. I don't understand why they don't do more of this, because it's like I can recolor skins in Unreal Engine. Like, it's not that hard to recolor a skin. Like,
well, you're really an expert. You're an expert in Unreal 5, so I believe.
Yeah, I'm a UE5 expert, guys. Trust me on this. So, but it really isn't that hard to recolor a skin. It's not that hard to retexture them. I made the Lumberjack Boris skin on my own, but like, why don't they do that with, like, I don't know, they wouldn't have to specifically say the names, but if they could do college football team.
Let's go.
Like, I know somebody like that, like sports ball, like Bearded would fucking love that.
Oh my gosh.
It wouldn't be that hard for them to do. And as long as they don't, necessarily say that that's what they're doing, maybe the fans might call it the Michigan skin, but They
It will lawsuit.
the Michigan skin.
I mean, you could, yeah. I mean, just by putting colors on there, you don't have to. Yeah, don't call it the Michigan skin. Just I don't know. Call it. I don't know. You could call it anything, really.
Call it Wolverine. Literally, you could just because they don't have a trademark on Wolverine. Literally that can apply to anything. So if they just took the color scheme,
I don't know. It's pretty close. It's pretty.
But
close.
your issue, your issue there is because then you actually have Marvel, who does have a trademark on Wolverine, and his color scheme is very close. Like it, that's one of the reasons why I'm a big Michigan fan is because Wolverine, he's got the 3 claws. Michigan Wolverines have the 3 stripes on their helmets. Like there's so many things that go together, that tie everything together. The color scheme, it matches the old comic. So
where there's a will, there's a way.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely possible. You could just call it.
They can still just definitely use those specific colors. Like find the RGB code for dipshit blue and fuck off yellow or whatever the hell it is, and
yeah,
bam, there you go.
No, that would be the West Virginia colors. So, So again,
no, West Virginia uses inbred blue. Thank you.
Inbred.
You're in yellow.
Inbred blue and you're in yellow.
Oh man, good makers.
Jeez almighty. All right. But no, that would be awesome. It would be so easy to do. And the thing is, like, there would be some of us talking heads that would just sit here and complain about the fact that it's a recolor. But I mean, if you're just pushing so many of them out there, with those, the college line, and then you could do the same thing. You could do the same thing with the country lines, right? You could do an American flag color scheme. You could do, a couple different of these, not just with Bellica and a couple other ones. Take all of the heroes that are, that have like the armor and the gun. You have Bellica, Murdock, Wraith. You kind of have the same color system. So then when you would do team up, all right, hey man, let's all put on the Germany skin. We'll all have that same color thing like that. I think something like that would be a really good idea to do.
I mean, something I said last night when Viking and I were playing League of Legends was I selected my skin specifically because my lane opponent also had a skin of the same skin line. Not because I knew they had the skin, but I was hoping that we would both take the same skin line into a match against each other. Right? There's definitely an aspect of having skin lines like that benefits everything because you can do exactly that. You can go into a team and say like, all right, everybody, we're picking the Germany skins today, right? And then everyone's in that repping the Germany skin, right? That just creates camaraderie very easily and also generates income.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it doesn't have to be, you can pump those out so quick that you wouldn't even have to make them to be that expensive. But if you made so many of them, like, all right, I'm the one I'm going to buy all of the Michigan colored ones, for every hero. So then I have it set up for every hero. It's the same thing. I did that for Overwatch, right? Overwatch, you have the ability, you can get they have all of the professional team colors for Overwatch. And I know they're a horrible team, but there's a Boston team, Boston Rising, I think it is, for Overwatch. Their colors are the blue and yellow ones. So I went and bought all the Boston Rising ones so that I could have a blue and yellow skin for every hero that I want to play with.
Yep. I did something similar with Overwatch because
OnlyFans says loves the shirt. Bearded care to comment. Windu couldn't make it, so we wanted him to be here. So
did we though?
No, this is one of Windu's merch shirts that I was able to acquire. So I figured this would be his way of being here, since he wasn't able to be here. So everybody say hi to Windu.
Hi, Windu.
And I gave him bangs. If you see, he's got bangs.
Dude, give him different hairstyles.
So, but yeah, no, I think I didn't even think about that until you guys just said that, but something like that would be great. And then like I said, that was Overwatch's professional teams, and we know from their post in Germany when they found internet that we have esports teams. So whenever our esports teams have certain colors, we could make colors like that for our skins. So that'd be great as well.
It would be a cheap way for them to just add some fucking content, man.
Mm-hmm.
It would.
And not just, oh look, it's the counter skin but green, right? You can be unique without needing to create new models for all the characters, right?
Right.
Like that's the big thing. Even Lumberjack Boris is probably the biggest example of that. That it is just a recolor of base Boris, but it at least is a different pattern than what's already there. I'm literally not going into a color box and going and green and ship, okay, and moving on. Like there's at least some effort applied into that skin, and I own Lumberjack Boris, so that's clearly worthwhile in some aspect to generate skins in that way.
Yeah, no, and it's a cheap, easy way to do that. But we're not saying that this is the end all, the fix all situations, whatever. They still need to come out with these huge, awesome T4 skins. But these are obviously just easy T1 skins that are just going to be recolors that just will add a little flair to the game.
These are Band-Aid skins, 100%.
Give people something to spend their fucking their orbs on.
You lose your shit if there was a pink Countess, Jelly.
Dude, I mean, where do I sign? I'll buy any pink skin. Give me a pink skin line, not the Valentine's Day ones. I want just pink.
So he
wants sweater.
He wants a Victoria's Secret line, is what he wants.
Shibby was the only one in Paragon that had a pink skin.
A pink Kalari, I'll buy it. I want that pink Feng Mao skin from Overprime in Fault, and I'll buy it there too.
I mean, they look like a peacock fucked a cockroach.
Yeah, that's the one, Mangoose.
That was least favorite of their skins.
Real quick, Jelly, or if it's not real quick, that's fine. Take your time. Why the color pink?
The short answer is there is no good reason. Easily over a decade ago for Christmas, my parents bought me a different pink sweater than this one. I still have it in the other room, but pink sweater with a camo hood. Just the inside of the hood was camo, and I wore it like every day for years. And so then people were like, well, pink must be his favorite color, and started buying me pink things nonstop. Like I've got a pink boxing glove set. I've got a pink chef's gear because someone gave it to me. I've got pink everything. And so I was just like, I'll just lean into it at this point. Just yep, pink it is. There we go.
Okay.
Moving on. Like that was what it was. No great inspiration necessarily.
Rumor has it that there is a picture of you floating around in a pink suit.
Oh, there is. Yeah, 100%. I did wear a full pink suit, shoes, suspenders, full suit, the whole nine. Yep. That does exist somewhere on the internet.
So so there you go. If anybody wants to see Jelly Knees in pink, I would literally just Google it. You'll find it eventually, probably.
I don't know if you want to Google it. You may find
don't do it at work. All right, don't Google that at work.
Yeah,
Google it. So, Skynet, what's going on, buddy? So yeah. Other than that, is there anything else what do you guys think? Oh no, that's what I want to talk about. That's the next topic. Viking, this is all you, all right?
Oh no.
And Jelly too. But Viking.
I like Vikings so much.
Well, obviously it's the beard. So, Viking.
Yeah.
What is it about Fault that is either keeping you away from it, or it is only allowing you to play it as often as you do play? Because I know you do play it a little more often than normal now because Iggy's here, but like, what is that one thing that you would think that if SMS were to do this, it would help you out?
Oh boy, that's one thing. It's one
top
thing,
three, I guess. I don't know. Like,
top three is easier, but so I think the biggest first thing is just content. I think that we need more champions. I don't even care if they're just the older champions. Just put more of them in the game. I would love their own unique take on a champion, but the key to the new champions is same thing they did with Iggy. Make them updated, make them fun to play. That's the big one. And so the content is the big part, I think, for the first thing. It would make me want to sign up and play more often, because right now the only reason why I log in is to play Iggy, because Iggy's just a lot of fun. Second, I think would be community, and I think addressing the toxicity in a more aggressive way. And then the third thing would be marketing and getting more people into the games that way. I don't have to question whether or not I'm going to have a 6-minute queue before I get on. And if you do have content creators, to your point with the other gentleman who was sponsored to play, if you have a 6-minute queue as somebody who has 50 plus viewers or even more than that, it's going to drive them nuts if they're having to wait 6+ minutes, unless, and now this is the big key, because this happens with League of Legends, but it only happens in the highest echelon of League of Legends play. So you know that, like, if I'm in a challenger lobby and I'm waiting for a guy who plays in challenger, like that's the highest rank you can get basically in solo queue, your audience is going to be a little bit more patient with you because you're going to get some really high level gameplay. Current version of Fault, I mean, you might get some high level, you might get some, variation of the two. So I think that's a big thing. So if you had to narrow it down to those three, those would be the big three. But the reason why I don't play it that much is because other than playing Iggy, I don't have enough fun on the other champions to really want to spend a lot of time on them. The game itself is not engaging enough for me to want to spend a lot of time grinding it out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Now, would you want, obviously you said content, so you want more heroes, and we all want more heroes, so I get that. But
yeah,
more heroes, okay, so the heroes we currently have, you said they're not as fun as Iggy.
Yes.
Would you eventually want, like, kit reworks to make them more fun, or do you think that them having the kits they have now are fine, and we just hopefully the next heroes we have are coming out are going to be good enough?
No, I would agree with the first point. I think they need reworks on previous. They need at least visual upgrades. Like, I mean, a big one, I mean, and you and I spent a lot of time last week talking about this, is like Twin Blast, for example. Twin Blast is so boring from a visual standpoint. Like, there's just nothing engaging about his kit at all. Like, his is not, it's boring. And there's so many of the champions currently in Fault that are the same way. There's just like a lack of fidelity, like you just are engaging. I don't know, man. Like, you press buttons on Twin Blast, it's like you don't even know his ultimate's going off. Like, you have no idea that, other than maybe your health bar is getting shredded. Like, it's just, I don't know. So
the other thing toward that end is that they didn't implement the flashy characters. They implemented the easy characters almost across the board. Right? That none of the characters that are in Fault are particularly flashy, nor were they flashy in Paragon. Right? That a lot of those, because they're more demanding in terms of implementation, have been pushed aside for the moment. And that, I think, is starting to show, because that would be one of my things as well, is content of heroes specifically. That there's nobody, they're really the only one that gets me kind of excited is Feng Mao. And that's more because of how Fault did him than Feng Mao in general. Because I was a diehard Feng Mao player back in Paragon, and he's very different in Fault in some ways. But Feng Mao feels flashy to play, right? Because you're jumping in, you're ulting, you're jumping again, you're ulting. You're doing these things that feel really good, but they feel fun to press your buttons.
Yep.
Most of the other characters don't have a lot of those abilities to do that, and that's just been because of the roster choices that they've made thus far.
Okay.
I think for me, the reason I don't play Fault as often as I played Paragon, 100%. Even though I could. And I think
Paragon or played Paragon?
Played.
Okay. I was like, you play Paragon? Like, send me the download link. Let's go.
I think the reason for that is I know that if I'm going to queue up for Fault, I'm committing all of my attention to something for 30, 40 minutes, and that I'm going to have to do my best. And I don't want sometimes I just want a casual game to play. Like, I play a lot of Hearthstone because I know I could just fucking queue up, kind of halfway pay attention to that shit while I'm watching anime and play a game. Fault is just too mentally demanding, I think, of a game a lot of times to just casually pick up and play a few matches and go on. Like, if I play Fault, I really have to be in the mood to play some Fault. It's never the game I sit down and, like, I'm bored, I want to play a game. It's never Fault that I pick because I don't want to commit that much to playing the game. And I think, like, if I play Fault for 2 hours, I feel fucking exhausted afterwards. If I play any other game for 2 hours, I'm like, I can go do something else.
I think part of that is twofold. The community right? Because if you're not putting your 100% into the game, you're going to get flamed 9 times out of 10, right? Which is just, it makes the experience less fun and less rewarding. So there's also no for fun mode in Fault, right? Like if you think about League of Legends has ARAM, if you think about Dota has Arena, or not Dota, Smite has Arena, right? Like and I'm not saying that necessarily it's good to split the player base on that, but there's nothing that can put a number up for them that you're going in and you're able to kind of watch anime on the side or listen to a YouTube video in the background and have that for fun mode where you can kind of goof off a little bit or play an off hero or mess with a certain build or whatever it is. Like it feels like in Fault, you have to try hard every single time you load into a game. And I'm exhausted before I even load into the game because of that.
Yeah.
I think to that point, because we used to feel this way when we would log into League of Legends, Jelly. Like it's just like, oh, do I really want to put in the effort and time to play that game? And it goes in waves, right? There's some, and I think it's to the main point from the beginning is it's like, am I going to have fun for those 30 minutes? Because I don't mind being focused and paying attention if laning is fun. Right now, I mean, other than when I'm playing Iggy, I don't have fun laning. Like most laning, for me personally, and then you guys can weigh in, it's just not very engaging. It's not super fun. Even when I play in duo lane, which should be constantly, engaging and fun, it seems like, I don't know, it's either one-sided, one just gets a hold of the lane, and then now it's the other duo just doesn't get to have fun anymore because they just control the lane now. Like whoever's Decker lands their Decker bomb most efficiently in the first 3 levels or something. I don't know. It starts to feel disengaging, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do my best to farm under tower for the next 15-20 minutes before I'm relevant. And League of Legends used to have that same issue. I don't think it's currently in that same state, but I think that's the struggle with MOBAs is it's like you have to have the strategy aspects of where the game is engaging because you need to make things happen across the map, but you also need to make the chore aspect also fun and engaging. And it did get a little bit better, I think, with the execution aspects, like giving you something else to look at and focus on. But I don't know, it just, other than playing Iggy, and that's mostly just because I really like Iggy and I think his kit is fun, I just don't think there's anybody that's super fun to lane in. It's not really fun to like think about like the bigger picture. Like, because when me and Jelly were playing together this most recent time, it was fun coordinating and figuring out what we wanted to do to win the game. And I don't feel like we've had that same up until this most recent version of Fault. And so if they can get more either VFX and kit reworks to make the current roster champions more engaging and fun, or add in more and then work on those guys in the back, I think that's the only way that it's going to be eye-catching enough to keep being relevant.
Well, I want to touch on 2 things. One, I want to answer Bearded's question about like playing, what keeps me from playing the game more often. But 2, I want to touch on the community for a second. Something I just thought of. When Fault came out, right? Viking and I played Fault the entire weekend that it came out. Some games with Mangoose in and out there, but the big thing is we were playing the game all weekend. The community then, certainly there was still toxicity, but the community then was able to introduce me to one of my close friends now, and that's Convey, right? I met Convey on Fault. Somebody who popped into my stream, said, hey, I play Fault too. Can I play with you guys? I said, sure. And now someone I talk to on a pretty consistent basis, right? That's now involved in other things that I do. That's the kind of community I would love for Fault to have, right? Something that like, I'm not, for lack of a better way to put it, worried or scared that I'm inviting someone in who's just going to flame me in 2 whole seconds, which if I was doing the game now, I would feel that way considerably more than I did when the game first came out. And that was just something I thought, it was like, I would love that kind of community back where you feel safe to invite people to your games consistently as a streamer, especially, and people that are, I don't want to say just good people, because that's I don't mean that necessarily, but people that are willing to have fun for the sake of having fun in the game. And that's something that I really enjoyed when I first started playing with Convey back when the game released. As for things that keep me from playing the game, something actually, and I told this to Viking and Mangoose before you invited me on the show, Bearded, is I actually was going to stream the game tonight. And if I wasn't going to be on the partner panel, I was actually thinking about playing Fault on stream tonight. which is encouraging because that's something that I very rarely felt like doing since its release after the first initial couple weeks. Right, the last time I played it on stream was just after loot boxes came out, and that was because I felt obligated to play it, to have an understanding, to talk about it, more than it was I wanted to play the game on stream.
Right.
But at work today, I was sitting there thinking about Feng Mao and playing him the other day when I was playing with Viking.
It was fun.
Like, you know what? Like, that sounds like fun. Like, maybe I'll stream some Fault tonight, play some Feng Mao games, get out there and do it. And so I think that's encouraging for me that the game is moving in a direction that I'm more considering playing it on a regular basis, let alone streaming it. But the big things that hold it back are the community, for all the reasons we've already beat to death every single show. It seems like the content, and I think that goes back to my thing about the flashy characters. Right? Not that it has to be over the top flashy, but I want to feel good pressing buttons, whether that's through reworks, whether that's through new characters, whether that's through itemization, whatever it is, do something for it. And then the other thing is variety. And I mean that partly in the hero way. I'll say variety and consistency. I'll mean that partly in the hero variety, right? It seems like you go up against a Decker almost every game. It's like you go up against a Boris almost every single game, a Gideon almost every single game, right? So there's little variety in that.
Chimera.
But I also mean variety that's created semi-artificially in their patches. I realize the idea is to keep things as balanced as possible, but you'll watch these other MOBAs that have been around for a decade at this point go in there and just toss things around just to mix it up a little bit because they know they have content decently down the line and they need to do something in the meantime.
You're talking about worlds patches now, dude. I know you.
Exactly, right? But something to that when I look at the patch, like the last patch that I remember that got me excited to play aside from a hero release was when they added the cleave items to the jungle. The cleave items in general, but
in general, yeah.
I was thinking for junglers.
Right.
And I sat there and I was like, that's cool. Like, I'll play the game for those items because that's a cool thing, right? Because that shakes it up. That provides something else that I'm like, okay, how does this work now? Can I move things around to fit that in my play style or whatever it takes? And that hasn't existed in Fault in outside of hero releases almost at all from patch to patch. And with that, I would want consistent patches, whether it's 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is, at least something that I can count on, that I can go like at the bare minimum, we're getting a patch in 2 weeks, right? That like if there's something coming, changes, whatever, even if it's just balance, even if it's just throwing things around a little bit, right? At least I have something to look forward to for that to happen, and not just kind of we patch whenever we patch that we've been in for a long time.
Right.
And
I got you.
A lot of the problems too, like that Bearded, that clip you played at the very beginning, where it said like, Fault's problem in a nutshell, great game, but not enough people are playing. Like that's 100% it. Like it's the small player base that makes it feel like a chore to me, because I'm going to put it in terms of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. If you guys ever played Punch Out, whenever I get into lane, I'm either up against Glassjaw Joe or fucking Mike Tyson. Where's my soda? Where's my Soda Popinski? Where's my Soda Popinski? It never seems like it's a fair matchup. I'm either having to put the mental energy in to hold myself back so that I'm just not completely shitting on a new player so that they actually have a decent experience playing the game, or I'm sweating my dick off trying to fucking outplay a Master Countess or some shit. So,
and that doesn't take much for you with it being as small as it is.
I mean, 3 drops and I'm done. That's why they call me 3 Drop Dusty.
Do they?
They do.
No, I'm gonna call you 3 Drop Dusty all the time now. Thanks.
I think that touches on what Music for Life said too, is that, I think the community, I mean, it's not even just us, right? But I think the community that does play the game a lot is probably pretty tired of playing the same people over and over again. I think if you get to, and that's why we saw like when free to play came out and a lot of people either made new accounts or, or whatever to be able to play against new players because they were tired of playing against the same sweaty tryhards because their elo is high enough that that's the only people they could queue against. And, I mean, it's unfortunately, it's not just the top 3 things that Bearded asked for, right? Like it's a whole systemic issue across the board that SMS needs to address. I mean, and to be fair, all of the pair zombies do, because this is something, and we always talk about like OverPrime or Predecessor. I didn't play Predecessor, but I played OverPrime. I started to get annoyed once people figured out the way to just end games super fast in OverPrime. It became less fun. It became like, okay, so
Methodical.
here's the process to win every and this is the best process to win. So if you don't play it this way, then you're not playing the game well. And it became boring. It was like, okay, well, we just won the game in 8 minutes, cool, whatever. And it did towards the end of that playtest start to be something. I wouldn't have consistently played it in its current version, in that version. I would have eventually stopped because it just wasn't as engaging. And I again, I don't know about Predecessor because I didn't play that, but like I think that's if the gameplay feels stale, if the champions feel stale, then it's not going to be fun. And I agree with Jelly's point that, like, sometimes you just need to swing, the hammer towards, buffing somebody who's underplayed and lowering somebody else. Like, make Countess all of a sudden overpowered, or make, I don't know, make somebody else who doesn't get like a lot of limelight, make them OP as fuck for a little bit, so that way other people are playing and getting, and shake shit up. Like, why not? Right now, you don't have anything else going on, so make the meta fucking different.
I agree. Changing the meta, don't make people OP on purpose.
Well, what I mean is, like, right now, it's like we said, it's like you only have so many, like, I guess, viable, safe picks. Like, you're gonna see a Gideon in more games than you don't, right? You're gonna see, a Twin Blast probably in more games than you don't. You're gonna see, like, it just, I don't know, you're going to see a Chimera a lot. You're going to see it because they're safe, easy to play picks. And it's like, and they're free. Right. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's ways to make the rest of the game feel like the meta has been shifted around and more fun and engaging in that way.
I do think one of the things that I want to see, and what I loved with Predecessor, was their uniqueness. And I say uniqueness into the fact of how they are as an item, right? The item itself, like, I can't remember what the exact item it was. I know it's in other MOBAs. I'm not saying it's unique to Predecessor, but like the item that when you shot something, every fourth shot gives lightning bolts across the the minions and enemies that are in the area. They need stuff like that, I believe, in this game. That gives that might not be the flashiness of a hero, but it also might add flashiness to that hero. Like, hey, when I now use whoever and I use this item, it's now gonna, when I press this button, it's gonna do something. It's gonna give me that, like, oh, I just did that. And that right there is something, like, you didn't change all the hero kits, you just put one item in, and that already changed a lot of how the heroes are going to feel in that situation. So I think stuff like that's going to be huge.
A lot of the items in Fault are purely either stat boosts or attack modifiers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Your attacks burn. Your attacks slow. Your attacks do % health damage. Your attacks do your % health damage. Right. There are very few items that, like, give you that feeling of, like, ooh, like, yeah, I just zapped 4 minions. Like, that was super cool. Right. There's nothing that I'm for lack of a better way to put, excited to build, right? That I'm just like, okay, well, and I now build Gravediggers, and now I build Eldritch Flame, and now I build Matlib, right? Like, it's become so methodical because there's no oomph behind these items anymore, right? There's no lightning bolts. Goblin Glue is a super cool item. You put it out on the ground, right? And it spreads out. That's a cool feeling thing to do. And I want more items to feel that way, whether they be actives or passives. I think there's a potential for both.
Yeah.
But they need some more items like that actually have some kind of reaction to doing something, not just an additional effect to what you're already doing.
I think that was also part of the appeal with Iggy, right? Like, when Iggy came out, like, there was, like, we had this rush of, like, what works and doesn't work on this guy. Like, let's see. And what I have had fun with is that I'm actually making meaningful choices on the items that I'm building based off of team composition. Whereas if I'm playing, like, Gideon, I'm just going to build as much power items as I can. I'm not worried about, like, what the enemy team is doing. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just building him to do as much damage as possible. Whereas with Iggy, I was like, well, I want to be able to, do this in a team fight. I want to be able to do this. And I think, yeah, having items that feel like you're making meaningful choices. Like, if you're playing carry, do you just build the same 6 items every single time because that's the the items you just build. Well, that's boring. That's not fun. And OverPrime, that was one of the cool things I enjoyed, was figuring out like, wait, if I go this build, all of a sudden I'm doing this much damage this quick, but I'm not, as survivable or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, having item diversity is a big part of it. And again, these are all things that they should have been working on, in my opinion, for the last 2.5 years, but it is what it is.
Here's a bit of a hot take. I think a little bit of RNG goes a long way. You already have RNG through crit chance, but if some of the items were chance based, like if that lightning had a 30% chance to proc, and like you get that godlike proc where it procs twice and happens to kill somebody, that's going to feel great. It wouldn't be good for competitive environments, I think, because everybody wants everything a little more controlled and everything, but it would just casually, I think it would make the game a lot more fun.
OverPrime has that item where you have a, whatever it is, 20% chance to cause a lightning bolt to come off and go around to other minions. And it's not the best item by any means, but it's fun. Right? Like, it's one of those, when you build a ton of attack speed, you take that item and you're like, let's see how many we can get.
I did that. I did that on a Twin Blast build. I built that. I built as fast attack speed as I could. I maxed it out because he has the fastest attack, and it was so much fun. And yeah, to Mangus's point, when you got multiple procs going at once, you're like, you felt like you felt powerful, and you felt like it was fun. I do agree with the RNG thing. I would even argue that you could have it in a competitive play, that there's some aspects of the RNG that makes competitive, outside of the methodical, fully controlled environment, that shakes things up, especially as a viewer. Like, if you're a viewer and something random happens that even the pros, as good as they are, can't account for, that makes it a lot more fun. And I don't know. I mean, these are all great ideas, but what's the realisticness of implementation? I think that's why I get annoyed, because it's like, as us four sitting here, have these great ideas. There's people across the community that are coming up with great ideas, great art, as we just saw. Like, when is it coming into the game? Or when is something coming from them saying, hey, these are things we know you guys want, we're putting it together? Like, I think at this point, I just want to know what the fuck they're doing. Like, I just put out give me a plan. I don't care if it doesn't have dates on it. Give me just an idea of like, hey, in the next 6 months, we're going to try and have these things done for you guys as the community, because we hear you. We want you to stay around playing our game. That's what I need at this point.
I agree with what you said, but the 6 months, still putting a time frame on it, I think that's just not good for them right now until they can actually get more consistency. So I think going more of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jelly, the ethereal route, and just doing like, hey, this is our right now working on, this is our working on later, and then this is our working on even later. That situation. Don't even put a date on it. Just like, hey, this is what we're currently working on, and you can have an idea of what's going on in that situation from there.
That was definitely the intention behind calling those short-term, mid-term, long-term.
There you go.
Right? Is that there were no dates applied. This was just like, in the short term, these are the things we really want to focus on. In the mid-term, once those are done, these are the things we want to focus on. That goes a long way, right? Like, that's that.
And then you have a finished side, and you can see what's finished, what has been done, and I think just the finished side itself would do wonders for SMS, just so the community can see what all has been done. Because we can sit here and play the game, but you're only going to play 10 characters, right? There's 25 characters in the game. You're not going to see all 25 in one game, right?
So I think
go ahead.
OverPrime's a prime example of that, right? That on FTM the last several weeks, we've been covering their Trello.
Right.
And their Trello is exactly that. It's not giving dates. It's just, as things move, we're going like, ooh, that moved from this tab to this tab, right? Like, and that's information. That's good information for the community to be able to look at and see and reference, without you having to make an announcement, without you having to do anything other than move something across from one tab to another.
Yeah, you'll see how the priority shifts.
Even if they didn't implement it on the website, right? If they just made a Trello, that helps so much for these games and provides a lot of that information.
I think it would help them too. I think they need a workflow management tool.
100%. I do have an idea of something they could do to keep things mixed up every once in a while without having to add new assets, right? So I'm not talking about adding new items. I'm not talking about changing abilities, right? Basically the system they already have, but just causing it to be mixed up a little bit every once in a while. The stats on the aspect system change every couple patches. So for red aspects, instead of getting attack speed, right? For the next 3 patches on rotation, whatever it is, every month they change it. The next 3 patches, you're getting damage. So now aspect builds have changed. So now, great, the game shifts accordingly, because now someone that needed attack speed and benefited from red aspects may go a different aspect color, or they may go a different build now. They may go, right? And you can do that across the aspects relatively easily from a SMS side of things, as long as it was announced well and dictated well to the community. That could provide that variety to the game to keep things mixed up without you having to add new assets all the time, or come up with giant balance changes to make the meta interesting.
That's a great idea.
That's something that exists in the game that they could do now with relatively low barrier to entry.
I like the aspect system too. Like it's I am always, every time I go in, I don't just pick the same aspects every time. I kind of look around and I look at it and I say, how do I want this game to go from me to my lane opponent, or in team fights or whatever. And it makes me more excited when I'm not just pigeonholed into, okay, well, I picked a mage, so I have to go these ones.
All blue, right?
Yeah, like I agree with like sometimes you're like, man, I kind of just want to be a bit more bursty than normal on this character. But if I go that one, it's just not, it's going to hamstring me here or whatever. And so like having a little bit more variety in that regard, it would be, and I think even too, like if you pick the two of the same color, you get like a little bonus feature or something like that they do. I don't know. There's lots of ways I think they could improve and make the aspects more engaging and more fun. I think somebody in chat even said like having them have a more visual engagement into themselves. I know that adds more work, but having the aspects do something visually in game would also be really, really neat, and I think would make it a little bit more fun from that perspective.
I wish the aspects were not so
chess pieces
looking.
Oh,
I not even the name scheme doesn't bother me necessarily.
no, I'm just kidding.
But it's right. Red aspects are red and generic. I couldn't tell you what the red aspect icon looks like. Right there, I know their names more than I know the icons themselves.
Yeah.
Other than they're red. Right. To provide those, make them feel more unique, make them feel more engaging. Give them icons. Make the icons red still. Right. Keep it consistent in coloration, but make if it's green, make Rook look interesting. Right. Where I'm like, oh, that's Rook. Without needing the name, without needing anything, I can look at it and be like, that's the Rook one. That's Rook. I'm taking Rook. Let's go. Right. Just little things like that are sorely missing in a lot of places across Fault.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, you guys did touch about the ARAM map, and then even Jelly, you talked about splitting the player base. That is something that I worry about. I know people like Magus want something more casual. And I mean, I wouldn't mind a more casual game occasionally as well, but I don't necessarily want to play an ARAM unless I'm doing my custom matches where I'm actually purposely going to do ARAMs on that situation. Like when I let up Fault, majority of the time I want to play the actual game. Like I don't want to play an ARAM. So if that's my only option for my casual matches, or my only option is to, all right, if I'm playing a match, I gotta play the sweaty side, I'm now gonna sit in queue longer waiting for that to happen, because everybody else that's like Mangoose went to the ARAM side and they're playing that instead. So now I'm stuck here just sitting in queue waiting for an actual match that I want to play. So like that to me, like I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not suggesting that they make an ARAM. I'm suggesting that they make the entire game more casual.
No, I know you're not suggesting that. I brought that up because that is something they've talked about. They already talked about how their ARAM maps in gray mode right now or whatever, and people are talking about it. And there was actually a comment in Gen Chat by a dev about like basically kind of insinuating that the ARAM map's closer than what maybe most people think, you know? So if that happens, like I don't think that really is a good thing with the current player base we have right now. Like we need more than that. If we don't have more of a player base, that's gonna just split them up, and it's gonna be.
I think having a casual game mode is important, but not at the cost of being able to play any game mode.
Yeah,
right? Because a casual game mode that splits your player base in half doubles the queue times for both.
Yep.
So, well, I guess because there's two aspects to this. I wonder how many people are just logging in when they want to play and just playing against bots versus playing in PvP, because they are annoyed with PvP games and it's frustrating to play. And if you just wanted to play something more casual, but you wanted to play Fault for whatever reason, you're going to play that. I don't know. To me, you have to look at it from like, what's the win-win? If you have the casual game mode like an Aram, right, that throws everything, you just get a random champion. Everybody's all in the center lane like they do it in League of Legends, and you just go at it, and but it brings more people into the game as a whole because you have it, versus nobody wanting to play your game because there's nothing but competitive style play. Because right now you have casual, and people are treating casual in Fault like it's still ranked somehow. Like, I mean, in our games, Jelly, like people were like really, really aggressive sometimes when it's like, bro, that guy's like level 2. He's brand new to the game or whatever it is. Like he's learning. Like give him you picked somebody that you wanted to try that's not in bots, and they were like, oh, just go to bots, get out of here. You shouldn't be in game anyway. Like, bro, this is casual. Like it doesn't even matter. Like what, for your fake elo that you have to look up on a third-party site? Like who cares?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Relax, man. But so if they had a casual game mode, an Aram or whatever, some version of it, an arena mode, it doesn't matter. Something that's like that changes the whole mindset, because the current casual is not casual because there's no other version for anybody who wants to PvP to play in. So I think if it brings more players, then it's worth it. So what I would say is they do a weekend test or a week and say, hey, you know what? We're bringing out Aram officially through Fault for this weekend or for this week. Give it a try. If enough people like it, we'll keep it in. If it lowers queue times by a significant margin, then, you know, we'll have to address that and go a different route. Whatever.
The hard part is limited events always draw more attention.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a counterpoint to it, right? Of like, if you look at Smite's most popular game mode is Arena. If tomorrow Hi-Rez said we're removing Arena mode, there is no chance that all of those players suddenly go play Conquest. The vast majority of those players probably stop playing the game, and some of them will go back to Conquest.
Yeah.
There is an aspect in favor of this idea of it does increase your player base because it gives them a mode to play if they don't want to play normal PvP. But it still does not help the normal PvP side of the game, right? You can have a more popular game mode come out, but then it may become about that game mode. Like Smite is way more about Arena for their players than it ever is about Conquest.
Right.
And that I don't think that's necessarily a good thing either. So it's there is benefits to both, but it's managing the right expectation, and you have to have the player base, at least some for it, right? Because
it all comes back down to player base.
If you don't gain more players, but you introduce a new game mode, you lose. If you do introduce more players and they all go, or if you do introduce a new game mode and you gain more players, but they all go to the new game mode, your old game mode's still suffering. So you still have a problem on your hands, right? Like a new game mode doesn't solve problems, but it has the potential to increase the amount of problems you have significantly.
I agree. All right.
I still kind of disagree, but I understand your point. I just think that not having multiple ways for people to log in and play your game hurts your game more than having multiple ways to play your game. Because right now, again, it would really have to depend on what their numbers look like. Like, I'd be curious how many people, because I know for me, when Iggy first came to launch, I didn't jump straight into PvP. I played Iggy for like 5 or 6 games in PvE and never even, I think I tried to queue into PvP, waited more than 3 minutes, and I said, fuck it, I don't care, and I left. I only recently played Iggy in PvP with Jelly when he's like, hey, let's just try and see if we can get you into a PvP game. And we both went into it saying, if the queue is more than 5 minutes or 6 minutes, we're out. We're going to go play something else. Luckily for us, we got there and it was pretty quick and it wasn't that bad this time. But I just don't know. Like, but if there was an era mode, maybe if it's good, I would have more fun waiting and playing it. And that's, I think there's enough people to look for that. And it doesn't matter if you're if I'm a dev, I don't care what mode they're playing as long as they're playing. And if I can work on the other mode and make it more appealing, because that's what League of Legends did. Aram was like this forgotten stepchild, but all of a sudden more people were playing Aram to the point where Aram is such a popular thing. They have to balance around Aram different than they have to balance around the regular game. They have to separate resources. Now, granted, League of Legends is a massive game and they have the ability to do this, but that's the power of the casual modes, is that you can generate enough people who are just like, I'm logging in to play Aram today because that's what I want to play, and I buy skins for Aram. Like, man, there's not even a guarantee I'm going to get the champion I want, but I bought skins hoping that I get to play it in Aram. You know,
the thing is, the casual player base is more fickle. If you are drawing a casual player base, sure, the numbers go up, but in that your 5v5 mode dies because there's longer queue times, and only the people that really want to try hard are playing it. You lose your try hard base, and then the second the fickle players find something else, they're gone.
But I would argue right now that you don't have either. You don't have a try hard base or a casual base. You have 200, 400 player base is not a player base. It
is a player base.
That is the tryhard. That is the people that are playing the game consistently that are keeping it alive. That is the difference.
I can load up and queue up right now. I'm able to play the game. That's a player base, right? Like if you do what you're talking about, and then the thing that happened that Jelly was saying happens because what you're talking about, that is no player base. You can't queue up. That's that would be a problem. That's like right now you can at least play the game. Now whether or not you want to wait the queue time that you're waiting for as it is right now. Now, if you have a problem with the queue time as it is right now, it's gonna be even worse when they separate that.
The luxury of these bigger games is they have that no matter what, they have a player base to support their 5v5 game mode if they suddenly decided to release an ARM for the first time.
Right.
Or release a new game mode. Right. That yes, you're gonna take a dip in your 5v5 player base, absolutely. But your queue times are gonna go up by 2 seconds, not 20 minutes. Right, that's the core difference. If you introduce a casual mode, you run a huge risk of burning both bridges at the same time. I
mean, I guess so. I just feel like at this point they got to do something, even if it's risky, because otherwise the time is ticking anyway. Even if it was just a rotating game mode, even if it wasn't like something where they keep it permanently, but it was enough to like, I still think that they do a weekend or a week of Aram, see how many people actually show up to play it, how long they're playing for. They have the numbers. It's easy to track it and see like, is the engagement wildly successful enough in order for this to stay something that we do consistently and support as a team, or is this something we do for fun to boost numbers on weekends every once in a while, or when we do a new announcement or in between patches or something, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, even League of Legends has a rotating for fun mode that they do. I don't know. I think right now, I mean, 3 out of the 4 of us are not consistently logging in to play this game. I'm one more person that would probably log in to play a little bit more if there was a for fun mode that was fun to play versus their current 5v5 mode. So, and I know this is a small sample size, but I would probably solo run into ARAMs. I do it on League of Legends all the time. I kind of feel like playing some, 5v5 shitfest.
Here's the thing though, is you would burn out on a fault ARAM right now so quick. What is the reason you don't play 5v5?
Well, because there's so many more aspects. And in an ARAM mode, I don't know how much ARAM you've played, but in ARAM, like having the randomness of champions,
right?
Plus, like it just becomes team fighting for 20
That's
minutes.
my point, though. The randomness of champions. You said earlier the real reasons that you only play this game is because of Iggy, right? Because he's got a good kit. Everybody else, you don't like their kits. So now your next 10 ARAM matches, you don't even get Iggy once, and you're stuck with all these kits that you can't stand. You're going to be easily fizzled out, like, okay, I'm going to go do whatever because I don't want to play this anymore.
There's a possibility that you're right. I mean, I don't hate the other kits so much that I think that they're like garbage to play or whatever. Like, it's just they're not as fun and engaging, and I was using that as a point to say that that's what they should be focusing on.
I agree. I'm not trying to use that as a negative side. I'm just saying that that's where the ARAM comes in. You're going to be forced to play those characters that you just don't have the fun that you have with when you play Iggy.
Yeah, but you're against other people that are also being forced into playing something that they're not comfortable on, so it becomes like this. It's not a comfortable situation. It's a enjoyment of actually playing that character situation. Like these other people, like, I have fun playing these other kits that Viking doesn't have fun playing with these other kits. I'm gonna go in and I'm still gonna have fun. No matter who I randomly. Well, I can't say no matter because there's actually heroes I can't stand. You don't like ARAMs, but for me, that's kind of the joy of ARAMs is being forced to play something that I wouldn't normally play.
Like for example, I would
dicking off and goofing off with it. Yeah,
I wouldn't play Steel on my own. I just don't. I'm just not that big fan of it. But if I knew that I got Steel and I got his kit, his ultimate, and it was like we're in a contained environment on a smaller map, and like, and it's meant to be a team fighting types, like just 5v5 team fighting all the time. That's what Aram usually is. Dude, I would be so much more stoked if I got Steel, because his ultimate is one of the best team fighting ultimates in the game. You know what I mean? Like, and even that, to that point, like, what if I haven't played Kalari, for example. The reason why I don't play Kalari is because she intimidates the shit out of me. But if I went into Aram and I got Kalari and I'm like, well, fuck, I guess I gotta try and learn her kit now, I might realize I had fun. I did that the other day, and I sent a clip to Jelly, because I played an assassin that I never touch in League of Legends, and I got a fucking pentakill with him, and it was the coolest, most exciting thing. I was just jumping out of my chair excited. If I had that same kind of experience with a champion I would have never touched, because I'm too intimidated to play them in a 5v5, and playing them against bots is basically a joke. Aram now introduced me to a character that I didn't think I would enjoy, or now I know more about that character, and when I play 5v5, I'm like, oh, that's what Kalari's E does. I know how to counter that now, versus before I just reading a tooltip and I'm hoping that I know how it works. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I know exactly. That was part of the reasons I started my Cooch's Custom Tuesdays back when my name used to be the Cooch. I would do that just so people could come in. We would play ARAMs for that reason, for them to do that. We would also just we play off the wall game modes. Me and Goose ran one together before, and we realized that the player base was still too small. We're sitting there waiting for players to actually play these games. But no, that's part of the reason we would do the ARAMs. I would tell people, hey, come play the game, and if we'll have it work out to where you could be somebody. Most of the time, it's gonna work out to where you're somebody you're not used to, right? Especially when at that time it was newer to Fault in that situation, to where like a lot of people, they've still played their maybe 2 to 3 characters, right? So then the very good chance that you're gonna get randomly selected another character you're not used to. I mean, I had it happen to me all the time. I can't stand Muriel, but next thing you know, I can do her pretty decently when it comes to ARAM, but not as a support. Still don't like her. So, but no, I get what you're saying.
It's just a different. I mean, they need to figure out stuff way more than just adding or not adding an Aram. There's so many more aspects to the game that's more important. That's why I didn't put it in my top 3. Right? You asked me earlier. Adding Aram was not in the top 3. I could see it being a benefit to the game, but there's those other 3 aspects that I think are bigger. And I think Isofei, I'm not sure. So it's the learning curve of the game too steep to keep players after bots. I do think that there's something to be said about that as well for Fault, but I think that'll apply to all of these games. We talk about it a lot on FTM as well. Like, the floor to come into these third-person MOBAs is really high already, and then you add in some of the more difficult aspects of the game, and it becomes almost overbearing for new players, and they won't stick around after bots, because especially if they have to deal with the toxic chat afterward. And if they go into a casual game I've played bots and I was dominating, then they get in there and they don't dominate and they struggle, and then they have someone talking shit to them the whole time. That would be a bummer, and I wouldn't want to play the game. But
I mean, let's be real. They only dominated if they were playing Murdock on their team, because otherwise Murdock's dominating.
True.
AI Murdock is insane.
Yeah, Private Parts brings up a good point. Why don't they have a difficulty level to the AI game? I think that would be I think that would be nice, but they also need to fix their AI for the AI game before they do that.
They do have a difficulty. If the enemy Murdock is way up here and the enemy Muriel's way down here, it's balanced, right? Because they're 2 different levels of skill. Absolutely.
Or your Chimera jungler gets stuck and doesn't move.
Yeah,
There's level 3 for
Greystone just hangs out the enemy jungle for the entire
variety.
Yeah.
I don't know, they need to, like, ARAM would be cool, but like they need to solve their player base problem before they do anything else. And I don't think I think ARAM would hurt that more than help at this point. But
and what solves the player base? Marketing.
I think the name of the game is variety. Whatever that means.
That's gonna be my question, Viking, to end it here.
Whatever it is, right, is variety. If that's just doing what I said with the aspects, right? Just shifting the meta just slightly to make players think about their builds a little more, or think about a different hero, or think about these different things. That's beneficial, right? But add new heroes, like make your variety in different ways, right? So once a month you do the aspect change, and then once every 2 months you release a hero, right? So now you've got both the aspect change and the new hero adding variety into your game, and That's every time I play Fault, for the most part, I don't feel like there was any variety added to the game where anything has really changed. Feng Mao came out in January. Feng Mao's still strong, right? That there's no variety in that I'm sitting here going like, oh, that 9 months later, I'm sitting here going like, maybe I should look to make sure Feng Mao is not absolutely terrible, right? That 9 months later, I can still pick Feng Mao, and he's definitely more balanced than he was on release, but he's still fairly strong in comparison to the other people that have been weak since his release. There's no need for me to go look at patch notes in the past. Granted, I look at all the patch notes, but there's no reason to go look to make sure that my hero or my favorite hero or a different hero is somehow better or worse accordingly, to get that sense of variety when I load into games.
So Private Parts asks, how big is the development team? I don't have the exact number. I just know it's one of the smaller ones, if it's not the smallest one.
Yeah, pretty small.
So, yeah, don't have an exact number for you. So that might be Jelly's answer, and that's fine. But to end this here, because we are definitely over our 2-hour mark here, but to end the show here, first we gotta say hi to Windu. Windu finally woke up. I hope you feel better. So what, in your guys' opinion, what does SMS do to fix the player base issue? Is it marketing? Is it whatever? Like, what, in your opinion, what do they do?
I think marketing is about the only way they're going to do it. I think I'm sorry, Ryan, but I think they've failed at marketing for a long time. And if they were to actually pick it up and do it well, I think they would bring a lot more people into the game. A lot of it is overcoming their extremely poor release that put a lot of the Paragon fans off of Fault. So they're going to have to market outside of the Fault audience, because they've already burned the Fault audience, the Paragon audience. So yeah, some kind of marketing that extends beyond the para refugees, and consistent marketing that's good.
Yeah. Nope. I agree. I literally think that I don't know if this was their plan or not, but to me, outside looking in, it feels like they were holding off from marketing. Like, hey, we're just gonna wait. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing, but we're gonna wait. And I think that actually hurt them. I think they should have been marketing, getting that player base to come in, because now, did they have issues in the beginning? Yeah, maybe not start our marketing from the very beginning, but hell, at least market from 13 on. 13, as I say in not every panel, but a lot of times I reference 13. It's the one that brought Mangoose back. Like, they did something right. So, like,
yeah, they fixed the fucking game.
Exactly. So, and at that point, when you're at that realization, then the marketing should have been ramped up right then.
Yeah, but then they broke the game. After that.
They did.
And
you're gonna lose.
And then they broke it again.
And you're gonna lose players. I get it. If you still gain play, if the net gain is still higher than the net loss, I don't know how you're not benefiting.
I think Mangoose brings up an important point there. They need to be more consistent with their patches, not regressing their progress.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back almost every single time, and it hurts the community that's still there and any new players that are coming in, because if they come in during the 1 step back period, then that's the example they've been set now going forward. And that's the problem since release, is that there's been an example that's been set and people can't get that out of their head, and so they need to constantly be putting a good foot forward.
Yeah.
I'll let Viking go, and then I'll say my one thing that I think they're missing.
I agree with the marketing. I think that marketing is fairly lackluster as a whole. I think their communication is bad. I think that their game, I know some people in chat are disagreeing with this. I think the game is decent enough that if they had a good marketing push and got more people playing the game, that those people would have a decent game to play. It doesn't account for the learning curve and all that stuff, but the systemic issues to fix the learning curve are way bigger than I think SMS has the ability to fix, whereas they can fix marketing. I think marketing is probably the easiest thing that they can do to get more people in. It's more about just almost kind of like throwing money at the problem. But they would need to be intelligent about it. They would need to get the right creators. I don't think just doing ads is going to work. I think they would need to get in front of a large audience. And I think that they would need to do it like as an event, like make it a big deal, make it something pretty substantial. That's I think that's really the only way. I mean, because I even and Jillian will know this, but I had a buddy who played Fault when we first got it, and I went and visited his house this last weekend, and I told him, I was like, hey man, you remember that game Fault that we played forever ago? And he's like, oh yeah. I was like, dude, we've been kind of kicking it around a little bit more recently. Like, you already own it, you should come in and hang out. And he's like, man, but that game was so hard and I was so bad at it. And and people were, he literally said almost exact same like what we talked about. He's like, and people were not nice to me, when I tried to play it by myself. He's like, if I didn't have you guys to play with, I just didn't have fun playing it. And I think that's another big part. They need to really, really address the toxicity in their game. And the way that I would feel most good about it is when I report someone for toxicity, if I got some kind of feedback on it, like, hey, you know what, we saw that too. That guy's been taken care of.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
I brought that up on a few episodes. I say a few, but I mean, a while back, I brought that up. Like, I remember I reported somebody, I think it was Overwatch. And the next time I loaded in and it says your report has actually whatever a benefit, like, has a result, whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, that means my report did something. And there's so many people in Gen Chat that'll be like, reports do nothing, reports do nothing, reports do nothing. And I understand that there's maybe one or two people that are going through reports manually, and actually verifying what's going on. And it might still take time, but even if that time that it took, if you still got that report, and when you loaded the game up next, hey, a report that you've done, whatever, had a result, that right there tells you, all right, sweet, this person finally got dealt with.
In addition, as simple as like OverPrime's announcements of these are the people that got banned during their test. Even if they had a channel in their Discord that I could go reference that said on 9/9, these 5 people got banned, or these 5 people got what result, right?
Chat restrictions or something. Yeah.
Right. Something like that. Then that at least tells me the result is still there. Now that's a little more aggressive than adding something in game would be, but at the same time, that still shows your player base. A, there's consequences for actions, and B, tells the people that are reporting people that they can go look and then be like, yes, that guy finally got banned. Thank God, because I've played 5 games with him, and every single time he's been flaming people in chat, calling them names, the whole 9 yards. Right? Like even something that simple would go a long way. Also, I'm a little saddened to hear Vikings say the easiest thing would be for them to just do marketing, because as a marketing person myself, makes me real sad. But I mean, we've touched on it, right? But I completely agree. I think marketing is the biggest thing. I said it in the past, and people in chat may remember or not, but a YouTube ad, a 30-second YouTube ad, was the thing that got me into Paragon back in the day before its release. I was watching a video on YouTube, it popped up, and in the first 2 seconds I was like, what is this? Okay, watch the whole ad. From then on was a Paragon diehard, right? Like, followed the content for it before its release, followed streamers that got early access, the whole 9 yards. Was a diehard. And there's money involved in that and creation involved in that, so I realized that's not necessarily the most conceivable way for them to go at the moment, depending on what their funds look like, because that's something we don't know. But marketing as a whole, Mangoose said that they needed to change their what people viewed them as from their release, which is 100% accurate. And the name change to Fault Elder Orb should have been that thing. Fault Elder Orb was a name change because of the movie 1-Up, and that was it. Because the game in the movie was called Elder Orb. That was it. That was the purpose for changing the name, because they've done absolutely nothing with it since. And the longer they wait on that name change to do something with it, the more it solidifies that was purely a name change. The game is exactly the same as it was back on release. That name change should have been the moment that the trumpets are blaring, saying, hey everyone, the game is a fresh, like, it's completely different now. You need to come in. If you haven't played this game recently, you haven't played this game, right? That should have been the sign of, like, yes, Fault itself had problems, right? We've addressed those problems. We fixed it. Now we're Fault Elder Orb. We're coming out the gate swinging. We're showing everybody that this is where we are now. This is the new phase of development. This is the game. Come back and play. And none of that fanfare happened. It was, yep, we changed the name of the game. Woo! Okay, moving on. And then nothing for a month until suddenly Iggy and Scorch dropped before Gamescom. There was no fanfare at all around that name change for more than 2 seconds. Nothing to draw in old players, nothing to bring these people back in, because we know, looking at Predecessor's server, looking at OverPrime server, the players are out there. There's plenty of numbers above what Fault has right now that they do not have access to from just even the Paragon community, right? I'm not even talking about outside of that necessarily anymore, right? Their name change should have been the thing for the Paragon community to get re-involved with the game. And they didn't push that at all to try and get those people back in the game. And that's the biggest failing, I think, up till this point, is it doesn't feel like they're doing anything on either side from a marketing perspective. They're not trying to appeal to the players that have already written them off by showing them that there's new things. It's been brought up to speed, all of these things, and they're not appealing to outside players. So we're just sitting in this limbo waiting for the game to die, it feels like.
I think that last point actually is going to where I'm going to leave off on too, is that, and I've been saying this, and I'm not really trying to like make it sound like I'm digging at SMS. I understand that this is an uphill battle for them, but time is of the essence. They don't have, in my opinion, they don't have a lot of time to significantly grab onto the market share before the other two pair zombies come out. And the more time that they take to do something, the less likelihood that they're going to be successful in doing that. And it's already going to be difficult, even for the other two games that are coming out, let alone for Fault to survive them coming out. So I think that's it. They need to market, they need to communicate, and they need to do so like now. They should put out a tweet tomorrow after somebody who is lurking in chat and saw this video and said, like, you know what, we got to do something. They need to put out like a game plan, a dev plan tomorrow in a tweet and say, like, you know what, we hear you guys, and here's our plans for the future.
Right.
Even if we're exploring options, right? Like, I realize ideally you'd want them to come out and be like, this is what we're doing, but by tomorrow that's not realistic, because you can't plan that in 24 hours.
They just need something
come out and say, like, we've heard interesting concepts such as changing the aspect system every month. We've heard interesting as this thing. What do you guys think? What are some good ideas? Get the community involved in this at this point, right? That, because we're guys coming up here with ideas, right? If they use the aspect idea and they go with it, that's great, because that's something that theoretically is going to benefit the game. Get the community involved, get them excited, get people talking about the game again, because right now nobody's talking about your game except for in a negative context 9 times out of 10.
I think they need to put out something pretty meaty. It needs to have some bite to it, because these other two parazombies are putting out meaty content every 2 weeks, except for this week.
Well,
but
see, that's the thing.
Last time I put out something media, I had to go around to everybody in my neighborhood.
Oh, God. Here we go. And Mingus is back. Let's go.
So, I mean, I completely agree. Marketing is definitely something that needs to be done. My point is that with that is, like, we're talking about the other pair of zombies. OverPrime's doing these videos, and you guys are talking about them for the minions. And OverPrime's doing these videos that are just like, it was just spinning around these characters. And in my honest opinion, I think they're dumb. I literally hate waking up and like, oh, look, I got a notification. What look at me? Oh, it's just one of those. Swipe, get out of here. Like, I literally think they're annoying, because like, it literally does nothing for me. And I get it's a whole Paragon thing. Paragon did it before. But you look at the amount of views that thing is getting. I'm like, oh my God, like, really? This is getting, over 2K views? Go look at the last tweet that Fault Elder Orb did, right? How many views or how many likes or whatever did it have? Not very many.
For you though, Bearded, on the name of those videos that you think are dumb, would that video stop you from playing the game?
No.
But that's it. That's right there.
No, and I'm not saying
they're dumb, but it's not going to stop you from playing the game.
Right.
Which means if it does make someone play the game, that worked.
100%, and that's what I'm actually saying. They need to do something as little as that. That I'm promoting that SMS needs to be doing something like this, because something as to me is as just dumb. It's getting all these views. It's getting traction. Like, do something like this. Just something as little as that. A little YouTube short of you just going into UE whatever and fucking spinning. Oh, all right, let me just have this camera go around and fucking there we go. And then send it off like, look, this is amazing looking. And we've seen that their team can do videos of it. I mean, hell, look at the One Up movie, and you have fucking Countess come alive in the movie and stuff like that, and all that thing. Like, they have the team that can do stuff like this.
Do they?
Those from One Up?
Yeah, they do.
Company was created to do those things for Vault.
Yes,
But that's a outside.
them
That's
directly.
It's not SMS, right? It's a team that they brought in.
Right.
But
Okay.
being it's their game, I bet you they could have had the ability to take those clips by themselves. Just those gameplay clips. You don't need context. You don't need anything. Just those gameplay clips, put them up on YouTube, and that would have gotten a bunch of views for them, because those are good clips regardless of context.
That's like the best part of the movie, to be honest,
100%.
is those cinematics. I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, it's just.
I'm just saying something, right? Like I said, I don't like the videos. I literally wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh sweet, what's going on with OverPrime? Nothing. You know, I'm watching people go all, oh my gosh, have you seen this video? I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't seen it, because I literally choose not to watch it because I think these are dumb.
For the most part, I actually agree with you, Bearded. To me, they're precursors to the real announcement the next day. That every time on Thursday that I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, we got a new video. It's because I'm excited of what comes tomorrow, not because I'm excited of what actually the video is about.
Yeah.
Right. And like the phase one they just did had a skin. It was one of her skins that they made.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a cool look at her skin. Seen the skin before. Didn't really care that much. Was more excited to see like the next thing.
Yeah, I think it's far more targeted at people that used to play Paragon and they see
100%.
that Paragon hero and then they're like, oh shit, well, what is this? And then they,
Right.
more. So I don't think it's nearly as bad of an idea as Bearded seems to think it is.
No. See,
I'm just not fucking with you, Bearded.
I think it's a great idea. I just hate them.
Do them again. They were.
I literally, it's
If
just
you guys
boring.
take anything away from the partner panel tonight, know that Bearded hates the idea
Yeah.
of doing these videos.
So
I hate to be the stick in the mud, but
oh my gosh, dude, you live in California. It's like early still for you. Quit
not-
being an old man.
it's not just about being early. Okay, so I like you, I have a family, and I tend to dominate the space
weird
with
flex,
my
but okay.
voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's getting late-ish. I haven't had dinner yet. We've been doing this for 2
I'm
hours and
famished.
41 minutes. I'm a fat guy who needs to eat. Well, chubby. I got dad bod.
You got dwarf bod with a dwarf beard. You're just really
True.
tall. You're like the tallest fucking dwarf ever.
Wait, yeah,
Tallest dwarf ever.
Yeah, the giant dwarf.
Nice. I like it. All right. No, yeah, we definitely do get to wrap it up. So, any last minute, comments, concerns?
Do something, I think, is the final.
I would agree. 100%.
Just do something. It's like, what is that meme, or is it from?
It's a
I don't know. Where
stick.
they're
Poke it
poking with the stick.
Yep.
Yeah, just do something, please. What
Now
are you
I'm gonna make
waiting
that
for? I don't know. Something amazing to
I
happen.
guess. Yep.
I guess like that. Anything.
Perfect Incredibles quote right there.
I get.
What do they have? Community. Can I post in any of these channels? They don't have a meme channel. I was gonna make that meme and post it in their meme channel.
They probably ban you afterwards.
Even let so.
All right.
And then for the minions, you guys are doing it live on Sundays now, right?
Yep.
Correct.
All right.
Sunday.
So you guys, if you guys like the live for the minions, you guys can thank Viking for like twisting Mangoose's arm and making the old guy do something that he doesn't like to do, giving him an abrasion. Yes.
Gotta hate those abrasions, man. You gotta go to the doc, find out what they are real quick.
So,
I do want to say real quick, if you are into anime, we're starting an anime podcast. Not sure when that's going to start up, but that's going to be just kind of like the same format as for the minions, but it's going to be about anime. Not sure what we're going to call it. Owen came up with My Life in Another Anime Podcast, which if you watch anime, you realize how fucking hilarious that is. And I'm kind of leaning towards that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
There was a few good ideas pitched around. I won't throw out any other names. We'll let them be surprised. But
it's a bit wordy.
It is a bit wordy.
Yeah, but
that's
that's
All
like an
animes are
anime.
titled like that.
it's part of the joke. But I don't know how well it would work on a thumbnail. But anyway, follow me on Twitter. That's my little plug if you would like to. Otherwise, you'll see me on FCM. An anime show to be determined name.
And Jelly is gonna stream Fault after this, I believe is what he said.
Not today, but we'll see.
All right.
Maybe this weekend. I'll play some games. I'll jump back in. It was fun when we played the last one, except for that one game. That was that one game. It was not fun. But
Just that one game. So,
I think
all
we
right.
played 3.
I appreciate all of you coming here, hanging out for and stepping in for Windu. Yeah, we know he's out sick. Got that little one. He's got to take care of himself, so he can take care of the little one as well. So appreciate you, Windu, for doing what you do, but appreciate you guys stepping in and taking his spot. But on that note, this raid's gonna kick off. So I hope you all have a great night. Peace.
Big